last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Arthur.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Arthur.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and it's so good to see all of you guys today. I saw Ann Reynolds come in. I also see Seclusion Works. Good to see you, Seclusion Works. I also saw Hope Floats and Forget Me Not. It's so good to see all of you guys tonight. And we're going to be doing, you got some snacks there, Seclusion Works. That's great. We're going to be doing something a little bit different tonight. So I heard this story previously, and I think it was when Chronicles of Olivia put this story out about Daniela Trejo Mendiola. And she is a 17-year-old girl who was caught in a hit and run. And there's some very strange circumstances surrounding this case, to say the very least, but also quite possibly deep-seated racism within the county of Alamance in Liberty, North Carolina. Hey, Sammy S., good to see you. It's so sad, Hope Floats. I mean, this story is incredibly sad, and I remember when Olivia talked to Daniela's brother, and he was very vocal, as well as her father, Daniel. And, you know, it's just something that is just so very hard to believe that it's still happening in 2025, honestly. You know, because I do not like false claims or playing the race card. I'm the last one to play the violin for someone who's going to do that, right? But this is absolutely corrupt and racist. So I thought it was going to be something that you all would like to hear about. Hey, Show Poodles. And it also, I think it would be something that needs to be talked about because there was a guilty plea. There is some accountability, but 5 years is not nearly long enough for what actually transpired here. That's why I have at the bottom of the screen, my life is worth more than 5 years, because this sweetheart deal that was given out by the DA is atrocious. And court is tomorrow morning, Monday morning. So I'm trying to get a couple of videos posted out there quickly. You know, it's difficult, but I'm going to start getting more content out to you guys. It's just been hectic, like I said in my post last night. So, but the show must go on, and true crime never stops, right? And we always have these injustices popping up in our faces, and when we don't discuss them, and when we push them aside and act like they're not happening, or just because it didn't happen to my family doesn't mean, I should care. Why should I care if it didn't happen to me, right? But the problem is this could happen to any of us, because this person is allegedly very well connected and an entitled son of a state trooper, right? So along comes a privilege. And it's something that I think it's kind of like the good old boy system, right? And we've discussed the good old boy system here because I think it exists in Sumner County. In Sebastian Rogers' case, we see it quite prominently, in my opinion. So again, this is something that's so important because Daniela is forever 20, or she is forever 17. She's forever 17. Yeah, and that is sorry, and I just saw your question. It is in Liberty, North Carolina, so Alamance County. And I have a news clip from about 9 months ago. And I know that Chronicles of Olivia, she is in this clip. And then Bullhorn Betty was also with her, and they were spreading awareness at this time. Hey, Town Chat Cafe, good to see you. So they were down there at this time. And then this was another protest just prior to the court date, Monday, right? So Daniela, and welcome in everyone. Welcome in, and thank you for being here, because this is such an important case and it hasn't gotten near the attention. And I'll tell you, I was guilty of watching Olivia's interview with Daniela's brother, and I was outraged and I couldn't believe what had happened. And then I heard the story again by Bullhorn Betty, right? And when she told the story, I thought, this sounds so familiar. Then I figure out that, okay, they were, in fact, this was the story that I heard on Chronicles of Olivia. Chronicles of Olivia, she is just, a beautiful young lady. She, and I mean that like more inside than out, but, obviously if you've ever watched Olivia, she is a very beautiful young lady. But I mean, just inside, and she's an incredible person, in my opinion. She does great journalism and very professional. Hey, Kiki, good to see you. I hope you're having a great vacation. Thank you for being here. But she does a fantastic job of advocacy at, at a very young age. And I have to, shout her out, right? Because it's well deserved. And then Betty is also, hard at advocacy. And she says some really powerful things. We're going to watch her later. Because they had been out there all weekend, right? And then tomorrow they will be out early in the morning, ready for court. Hey, Shadow, good to see you. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Hope Float says she's doing a great job of keeping up with the hurricane that went through North Carolina too. Yes. And I love her interviews with Vlad. Like, he is adorable, and she is just, so tenderhearted and such a great listener. Thank you, Town Chat. Town Chat says, lady, I'm glad you're covering the story. I was not aware of this until tonight. So devastating. Yeah, I forgot about it. I will tell you, I forgot about it, Town Chat. And, and there is a lot of talk about, women of color, people of color, even children that don't get the kind of exposure, or indigenous people that don't get the kind of exposure that everyone deserves to have, right? And we talk about that. It was heavy in the Gabby Petito case. And, I have to be honest, I felt so bad for Joe and the family, because, to be hammered with that at that moment when you're, you should be able to be selfish, but they weren't, right? They started the Gabby Petito Foundation. They made sure to speak on Indigenous women, like on on Justin on TikTok. He did a lot of interviews with Joe, really great interviews with Joe. And, just, you could see the dedication. And when he heard that, only, I think the news said something kind of really hateful, in my opinion, to Joe. I don't think he deserved it, but they said something kind of like, well, your daughter got exposure because she's blonde hair and blue eyed, right? And I just thought to myself, you dirty dog, how could you say that to him? I thought that was inappropriate. Although I do agree with what was said, I don't think it was right to put on to Joe. But anyway, that's my little tangent there. Hey, Pooh Bear, good to see everyone coming in. Just me. Thank you for being here. Seclusion Work says it's worse in Canada for First Nations. The Highway of Tears travesty. Yeah, absolutely, Seclusion Works. And it is something that, we should be aware of. If there's an injustice anywhere, there should be outrage everywhere, right? Because it could always happen to us. We just don't know, right? We don't know that it could or might, right? We would never want to think that way. It wouldn't be any kind of life to live to think, wow, this could happen to me or that could happen to me. But it's important to spread the awareness. So thank you too for bringing that in. Pooh Bear said, sorry guys. But yeah, so it's just so unfortunate. But I'm glad to be talking about it tonight. So this is kind of the rundown of kind of my understanding of it. And then I want to show you all a clip from 9 months ago. So Daniela Mendiola, Liberty, North Carolina, hit and run on August 20th, 2024. So this was just, last August, about a year ago now. Alamance County writes, struck by a vehicle driven by 38-year-old Joshua Brown on Oak Grove Church Road while waiting for her ride outside of her boyfriend's house. She was waiting in the driveway, and her friend was going to be picking her up that night. Joshua Brown left the scene and returned in a different vehicle after striking the 17-year-old girl. And I'm going to tell you, there are some very, very horrific details that her father, Daniel, is going to share with us. So I don't even know if there's a trigger warning on the planet for what you're about to hear. But just know that we are talking about some very sensitive subject matter tonight. Some controversial subject matter, but we need to discuss it. Returned in a different vehicle with his mommy and his daddy. Okay. So imagine you're driving down the road. You strike a person, not a squirrel, not a deer, a person. And you get out. I'm sure I mean, there are going to be parts of that person still on your vehicle, depending on how fast you are going. There would be pieces of a person, just as there would be if you've ever hit a deer or an animal. You can tell there's going to be damage to your vehicle. So you get out And even if I give you the benefit of the doubt, you don't know what you hit, but you get out of the vehicle to see what you have hit, and you realize that it's an actual person, a young lady, a 17-year-old. That's Daniela right there. You can tell she was a young woman, a young lady, right? Didn't even graduate high school yet. So you get out and you see that you have hit something, and then you leave that person. What happened here is a little bit different, but I just kind of want you guys to sit with that scenario and, you know, think about it, because we all drive, right? Um, we've all, you know, maybe hit something in our vehicle. Sometimes you don't mean to hit, like a little squirrel in the road, or as I said, a deer might come flying out of the woods and, you know, you hit the deer. You know, even if you slam on your brakes, depending on how fast you go, it's too fast for you to slow down, right? But imagine just leaving someone there. I can't imagine it. I can't. So this Joshua Brown later pleads guilty to a felony hit and run resulting in death. In my opinion, it should have been vehicular manslaughter. At the least, vehicular homicide, or at the very most, perhaps vehicular homicide. Reckless driving may be in order. But here's the thing. Joshua Brown left the scene of the crime only to return in a different car with his parents, whom he lived with at the age of 38. Okay. Now, I'm not shaming anybody that lives with their parents, right? There may be reasons why. There may be reasons they may be needing assistance or care, you know, whatever it is. In this case, I don't think so. I think he's probably a deadbeat asshole, leeching off of his parents. All right. So she is beautiful. Yeah, Kiki, thank you. Yeah, she is. She's a gorgeous girl. Seclusion Work says I hit a deer once, and that was awful as it was for a human. I would need some psychiatric help for sure. I would too. And I would try to save their life, and I would call 911, you know, because it's like, and I understand being scared. Like I said, I've hit a deer before too, but I've never hit like a person, right? So I can't imagine that. But if I do sit there and imagine I hit somebody, I would definitely try to help them, right? I don't see how anyone could do it either, Kiki. You know, and it's alleged that this individual is known for, you know, speeding around town, for being under the influence of substances, and, you know, driving his vehicle around without a, you know, care that there's other people around. You know, again, even an animal could be running across the street on accident, right? But Daniela, she was in her friend's driveway waiting on another friend to pick her up, right? Boyfriend, she was at her boyfriend's house for a little bit. She was waiting in the driveway for her other friend to pick her up from her boyfriend's house. And she is struck by a vehicle. Now, Daniela was thrown feet away, right, is what we're supposed to believe. But she was in a ditch when she was found. And it said that she was in that ditch for 43 minutes before succumbing to her injuries. So there was plenty of time, in my opinion, for someone to help her. But instead, that someone helped themselves, and they took off. And they didn't even call the law, so someone could have helped Daniela. They didn't make an anonymous call and say there was a wreck. I saw a wreck. You know, I mean, if you feel sorry about a situation and you are trying to save your own ass, couldn't you have at the very least called 911 and said, I just saw an accident on the side of the road, and given the location? Wouldn't that have been better to get her some help? Or were you just only interested in helping yourself? Because in my opinion, what you did looks like you were only looking to help yourself and not anybody else. You certainly didn't give a shit about Daniela sitting in the ditch. clinging to life. It's so ridiculous, Kiki. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. So here we go. Let's watch this. This is 9 months ago, when around the time that this initially
Tonight,
happened.
a family's push for answers 2 weeks after their daughter died. Good evening, I'm Sydney Moore.
And I'm Chad Silber. A small group gathered outside the Alamance County Courthouse today to support the Mendiola family. Their daughter died when a car hit her a few weeks back. They told WFMY News 2's Nixon Norman why they feel the need to push for justice.
For now, the tears of Mendiola's family have dried. But now more than ever, they're demanding answers. That was clear today when more than 30 people stood in front of the Alamance County Courthouse, simply saying Daniela's life mattered. A father's pain.
I can't believe I don't have my daughter anymore.
Turned into the fight of a lifetime.
Where is the justice?
From the moment Daniela Mendiola died, her family has said something wasn't right. We told you a couple of weeks ago, state troopers say 17-year-old Mendiola was walking in the middle of Oak Grove Church Road in Liberty when a car hit her and took off. Family members and some neighbors say she was actually waiting in her boyfriend's driveway. There's also been a dispute over the driver, who returned to the scene about 30 minutes later. Family says the driver came back in a different car. Highway Patrol says it was the same car. They say because he returned, he won't be charged. No matter the scenario, her family feels her case hasn't been taken seriously. That's why they stood in front of the Alamance County Courthouse and demanded justice.
No matter what color you are, but justice is the same.
The same goes for Olivia Vitale. The independent journalist drove 4 hours to join the demonstration.
It just feels like her story was being swept under the rug.
She says it's crucial to spread the word about Daniela's story, particularly online.
The way that people gather their news is different than how it was. It's changed. People are on their phones, so it's important to have her face be on all different platforms.
Mendiola's family says this is just the beginning.
We not gotta stop. We just keep going and going and going.
Daniela's father says they plan to continue demonstrating outside of the courthouse until there's justice for his daughter. I reached out to Highway Patrol and the Alamance County District Attorney after hours today to get an update on the investigation, but haven't heard back yet.
Nixon, thank you. Well, the case has gotten a lot of attention in the triad, so much so that the Liberty Police Department released a statement today. It sent condolences to the family and acknowledged people who have questions. It says people need to stop calling them for answers since they are not involved in the case.
Okay, guys, so, I didn't do a deep dive into North Carolina law or anything like that. So, feel free to help me out on this here. But I will say that it looks to me as if the DA picked up the charges and allowed for a sweetheart deal in a nutshell. Won't be charged, Kiki, because he returned. He was a good boy and returned, right? I mean, absolutely crazy. I know, Kiki, exactly. Bless their hearts. I mean, it's just absolutely devastating, I bet, for them. Anne says, now I remember this was not long after my son passed away. Yeah, like I said, Miss Anna, I did not see the news coverage, but I do remember Olivia covering this, Chronicles of Olivia. And if you guys could drop, if you guys are mod in here, could you please drop Olivia's link? She's awesome. She is just fantastic. And then also we're using Bullhorn Betty to her footage and commentary so to review. So if you guys could drop Bullhorn Betty too, pretty please. She's a great woman. Stands up for what's right. No charges, bunch of horse. Right. Yeah, apples. Yeah, absolutely. No charges. And I believe it was because, he probably turned himself in. And then, of course, if his father is a state trooper, they have the connections. And then they said, if you plead guilty, then we'll give you a sweetheart deal. Now, I don't know if you all remember, there was this story, I believe it was sometime last year. And It was an awful, horrible woman named Chandra. Chandra, is her name. And her son Timothy was systematically starved and tortured by her and her son Paul, right? And she was charged, and then because Paul was part of it, he was also charged, but he rolled on his mother, and she was the one that took the rap for it, and he was supposed to get a deal too. But the judge said, oh, no, you're not going to get a deal. We're glad that you told. But here's the thing. You were involved too. And I mean, they were doing things to Timothy, like giving him a piece of bread that was soaked in the hottest hot sauce imaginable that they could find on the internet. You know, just some really disgusting things that they did to this young man. They taped a lot of it on their phones and recorded it because she had a camera on them all the time. It was a horrific story, but the judge said that Timothy looked like he was a Holocaust victim. He was so gaunt and thin and starved and systematically tortured, just like what happened in many, many places. It's bullpucky. It definitely is. Yeah, I can't believe it. Hope floats. You know, I don't know. Thanks, Kiki. Thank you. I don't know about the girl in the Midwest, or you know, you might have to refresh my memory. Seclusion works. So, but again, it's up to the judge. So hopefully tomorrow, the judge will impose a much stricter sentence. I am praying, and I have been since I heard her father speak. I have a couple of clips tonight to share with you of him speaking. One, I was trying to download, and sometimes when they're newer, it takes a little bit of time. Either that, or I might have to do an update on my phone. Sometimes that happens. But there was a really good interview that Betty put out today of her father. Olivia has a short on her channel where he's standing out in the rain, holding a sign. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. But anyway, let's watch this story.
Basically what happened is August 2024, Daniela was waiting for her ride. Her friend was coming to pick her up, and her friend got there and she was gone. Her friend drove around the property, made some phone calls, couldn't find her friend, and then ended up taking off. Well, what ended up happening is her friend didn't realize she had just been struck by a vehicle and was in the ditch across the road. So it wasn't until the person that hit her, that drove off, left her at the scene of an accident, went home, changed vehicles, came back to the scene of an accident with a different vehicle. Again, that's a hit and run, right? I mean, I am describing a hit and run with fatalities, and they failed to give him a blood test or take any type of biological evidence from him at the scene after a fatality. And so basically, this guy's getting a slap on the wrist because, one, he left the scene of an accident with a fatality. He tampered with evidence. He kicked a phone from the road. Daniel believes that he exited his car for 40 seconds before getting back into his car and leaving the scene. And these are all the things that would be fleshed out in trial. But the prosecution, the state, the DA, gave this guy a sweetheart deal because their police officers corruptly sent him home without doing their job. Makes you wonder how a well-trained law enforcement body seems not to have or know how to handle an accident scene with a fatality, and one where a guy actually left the scene and came back to the scene in a separate car, not even allowing law enforcement to observe the car. This goes outside of any type of police procedure and protocol I've ever heard. In the state of Florida, you have a fatality, you go straight to the hospital and get blood and biological material taken from you. There's no questions asked. Fatality, that's the process. I don't understand how people wouldn't understand the process here in North Carolina. So now that you guys kind of hear the tidbits of this, and I'm going to ask you to go and do your own research by Googling Alamance, North Carolina. You'll learn a lot of history about this county. I'm not going to say what I've said before I got to this county, standing in this county, because we already have the sharks circling the area. So I don't play well, especially when people start violating people's rights. But Betty doesn't play well. I'm lawful, legal, and I'm cordial, but I stand my ground when I need to stand my ground. Now, we have a huge issue here because this family behind me, right here, is seeking justice. They do not agree with what the plea deal has. The plea deal is giving this guy 5 years. You guys just heard him. That's her father right there. He wants him in jail. He wants Joshua Brown in jail for homicide. He left the scene of an accident. She could have been saved. 43 minutes she fought, and nobody was there to help her for 43 minutes. That's disgusting. Somebody has to pay more than 5 years for that. But that's the sweetheart deal that this county gave this particular person, Joshua Brown. Look in his history as well. You'll find that his grandpa and family are without a doubt associated with judgeships and law enforcement in this area. It feels like a Ronnie Lawson and his son diddling with kids, I mean, almost all over again, does it not? Except not as extreme, but however, we do have a young teenager deceased because this man was most likely under the influence and they failed to test him for that, so they can never prosecute him for that. Why did they intentionally? They told everybody at the scene he was an intoxicated driver until they found out who he was, and then all of a sudden he's okay to go home. We got problems. We got problems, Alamance. We got problems. What you're doing to this family is wrong. I'm one of those people that do the right thing because it's the right thing to do all the time. Not because it's the easy decision, but because it's the right decision. And that's what we need to be impressing upon the government here in this county, is to do the right thing. The right thing is not 5 years. The right thing is making that man be held accountable. You guys saw his videos. We all saw his videos running through this county at 120 miles an hour, multiple times. It was only a matter of time before somebody got killed. And you allowed it to happen then. You allowed this girl to get mowed over without holding this man accountable. And now when you hold this man accountable, you're giving him 5 years? But however, if the shoe was on the other foot and somebody that looked like them was behind that car and somebody looked like Josh was in that ditch, I have a funny feeling somebody like them would have gotten a lot more years. Just saying. That's a problem for me. That's a problem for the Bullhorn Betty channel. That's a problem for the true crime community. Big problem. We stand with this family right here.
Okay, you heard it, folks. Well said, Betty. I can't say it any better than myself. Although I might be over on the other side there. Hey, little Miss Sharon, good to see you. Ann says, if I remember right, that town is a big one. It's a big town. Well, he says they're really big into, the money really flows there, right? It's about money, and you would probably know more than me, Miss Ann, about the area, and the demographic. It is absolutely sickening. It is absolutely sickening, guys. And like I said, buckle up, because when we hear from Mendiola, it is absolutely gut-wrenching for a parent to have gone through what he had to go through, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Things, Kiki, like Betty said, it's the tip of it's just that we have this corruption, right? We have this well-connected family, and we have an element of racism within the community, or excuse me, not within the community per se, but within law enforcement, because there's been some really nasty things that have been said. about Hispanic people, which is really unfortunate, guys. And I know a lot of you guys know that I'm Mexican American, and so it's just it's very difficult to watch. And I mean, it's unfortunate. I don't care if you're a green Martian. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your religion is. People are people, and we all deserve to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, in my opinion. Um, so basically, the police didn't do their job here, right? Um, they didn't do the proper protocols and procedures that align when there is an accident scene with a fatality involved. Law enforcement never observed the car because Joshua Brown decided to leave and come back with a different vehicle. Why didn't law enforcement go to his house and retrieve the other vehicle to gather evidence? Because I'm not a police officer, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. The car was never observed that actually hit Daniela, Mendiola. This is definitely out of police and proper police procedures, in my opinion. We have a well-connected family, and it is reminiscent, I believe, just like Betty said, of Ronnie Lawson and everything that he was able to get away with in the Summer Wells case. Oh my goodness. Seclusion Works says that the young girl in the Midwest, her parents left her to become unalived on a couch in her own waste. How awful is that? You know, her own parents. Kiki's still at the beach. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, it's just so, it's unreal. It's sad. Definite cover up. Absolutely, Seclusion Works. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, there's no other reason to change the story up. Like we saw in the news clip, they were trying to say she was walking in the middle of the road. I don't know about you guys, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but if I look at Daniela and I look at her, she looks like a woman that is smart enough not to be walking in the middle of the road at night. Exactly, Kiki. I agree 100%. Plus, he should have been tested for drugs and drinking. And that's why, you know, he went and got his well-connected parents and changed the cars, right? Because he was never arrested. Seclusion Work says, when I had my accident, they took blood to clear me. I injured a teenager. Oh my goodness, Seclusion Works. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. And I'm sorry for the teenager. You know, accidents happen, guys, all the time. And I'm not saying that Joshua Brown was like looking to mow over a young Hispanic woman. I want that to be very, very clear. However, I do think that his reckless driving, because there were videos out there of him going over 100 miles an hour, and I hope to God those are going to be shown to the judge. I don't know that they will be, since there was a deal taken. I can probably guess that they won't be shown. But maybe the victim impact statement, maybe they can bring something like that in. I don't know. I am just hoping to God and praying that the judge understands that this was something that was not handled properly, and there shouldn't be this type of a deal, in my opinion. Yeah, hopeful. It says probably a rural town like mine. Curious how many people. Yeah, dang it, I don't have my phone with me right here. I'm curious to know that too. I know Ann said it was a smaller area, or excuse me, a larger area. But I know that sometimes when we see the smaller areas get larger and things like that, with more people and, you know, becoming more robust and things like that, that they're still kind of being run by the good old boys, right? And an unfortunate, you know, it is unfortunate. I would hope that they would do the right thing if they had that power, right? With great power comes great responsibility. Oh, okay. Oh, Seclusion Work says my car had a mechanical failure, but I still feel awful. I stopped driving. Oh, well, it's not your fault. And see, that's the thing. Accidents happen. They do. They absolutely do. And and you stuck around, right? I mean, this guy leaving, he could have saved her life. He could have even saved her life, like I said, if he had made a call to get people out there to help with the situation. She could have been still alive. Her dad talks about how he doesn't care what she looks like, what she would have looked like, right? So if she would have been badly injured and her appearance would have been changed, or maybe she couldn't do the same things that she could have before she had the accident, he said at least she would still be with us and be alive, right? um, totally different, Kiki. Absolutely. Totally different. And, when you do the right thing and stick around, the outcome looks completely different too, right? Because it looks like you have remorse. It looks like you feel bad for what's happened. It looks like you're trying to help and fix what's been done, right? Because there's things in life that we can't take back. I mean, I'm not a perfect person. I have made mistakes. I've learned. I mean, there's been accidents. Like I said, I cried when I hit the deer. I was so upset. And my dad was just like, what happened to the car? Like, is the car okay? Yeah, but I've always been sensitive like that. Yes. Okay. So Anne says, yeah, the town is the big one. Um, oh, it is, Liberty. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Hope Floats. It is in, Alamance County. And Hope Float says, uh, Liberty only showing 3,000 people. Wow, that's teeny tiny, right? That is a tiny. Well, and in the news clip, that 2-lane road that they showed, that looked like a country road if I've ever seen one. If I've ever backed road on a country road, that looked like a country road. Um, yeah, little turkey got away with it. Yeah. It seems like he may only get, and if he gets 5 years, he may not serve all of that time. That town is on the other side of Asheville. Thanks, Miss Ann. Good old boys for sure. I'm guessing so, right? Hopeful. It's because 3,000. Wow, I thought it was going to be more like a larger, because a lot of times in the really small towns and things, you'll see those little town squares, right? You'll have the little square, and then, you'll have the houses and country and back roads and, stuff like that. So that's kind of what I pictured. I don't know if Liberty University's there. Hey, Cinderella, good to see you. Uh, Seclusion Work says, I apologized to the girl and she's okay now. Good. But I went to court, accepted my punishment, and gave up driving. Apologized to the court too. Well, of course you did. You're a good person. You know what I mean? Like, that's what good people do. And that's what happens when you do feel, badly about something that's happened, right? I mean, there's a lot of accidents that could happen and you would feel really, really bad about it. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, there was that, who was it? Jamie Komaros. I'm going to say it right. Jamie Komorowski, right? She was a girl who was driving drunk and recklessly, right? Because she was going super fast in a 25-mile-an-hour zone where there were golf carts. There was a golf cart from a wedding party with the bride and groom in tow that she hit while she was drinking and driving. And she pled guilty, but then the judge turned around and gave her the max sentence. So there is some hope here, I do believe. I'm just praying that the judge will not allow for this, because I don't believe the DA should have ever given him that sort of deal. Maybe if you're going to be lenient, 25 years. You know what I mean? But still, her life has been taken and he could have saved her life. So that's where I'm very hung up on the situation, because I do have compassion in my heart and I do want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But when we see that he's very proud of himself, rolling around town like a maniac at 100 miles an hour, that's where we got to kind of draw the line, you know. When he doesn't do anything to aid to administer aid to this young lady, I don't feel sorry for him anymore. You know, I don't give him the benefit of the doubt anymore. That's where my benefit ends. Kiki says, I know I'm behind, but what are the names of the different chat now? Kiki, I don't know. It is some glitch with YouTube. I don't know. It's like reverting back to, I guess, like the original handle or something. I don't know. Thank you, Hope Floats. Yes, Alamance County. And welcome in, everyone. Ann Reynolds says, some of the towns here are just as just like where Sebastian Rogers is. Thank you, Ann Reynolds, for letting us know. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what's going on here, right? Because they know this guy, you know, and they're just saying, well, you know, we know him and we're gonna let him slide. You know, he said he was sorry, he came back, but he didn't come back in the same vehicle. And why did he leave to begin with? You're not allowed to do that. You know, that in and of itself is a crime. I mean, it may not carry a large sentence and, you know, you may be able to plead down, but you're not supposed to do that, right? And then the police didn't do their job, in my opinion. That's the size of your district too. It's a small district. You said seclusion works. Liberty First, or literally the first time my son drove our Mustang 6 deer ran in, oh no, into the side, jumped over the car and ran into this. Oh my gosh, Kiki. Oh my, poor guy. I bet you he was happy to be driving that Mustang. Okay, and you live in a city with 101,000, or excuse me, 110,000. Alamance is, okay, so Alamance is bigger, about 180,000. Thanks, Hope Floats. So larger, so where it's being, where the court proceedings are being held is in Alamance County, I do believe. Oh, Liberty University is in Virginia Beach, she says. Hey, Sammy. Sammy says, I went to a private school until high school, but my high school was, wow, 2,200 people. Wow, that's a big school. That is a big school. Excuse me, I don't want to cough on you guys. Wow, my high school was huge too. We had something like that in our graduating class. I think it was like 2,000. It was huge. Fed Up with Humanity says, so happy to see y'all earlier tonight after y'all watched me sleep almost all night. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here. Fed Up with Humanity. Thanks, Seclusion. I was wondering, we had a friend whose dad was one of the founders. Oh, okay, cool. Hey, Megan Els, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Liberty in Lynchburg. Feel like, oh, okay. Liberty, excuse me. Fed Up with Humanity says, I feel like he should get 43 years, if not life, but a year for every minute he left her suffering. That, I think, would fit, right? That would absolutely fit. Yes, absolutely. You know, I remember that made me think of Skylar Richardson, the little girl whose life was taken by Aiden Fucci, and he stabbed her over and over and over again. And her family, every time they took the stand, they took a stone out and put it into, and to show everyone how many times she was stabbed, right? And I think that that would be something so powerful for Daniel Mendiola or one of the family members to do if they have a chance to speak to the judge on a a victim impact statement. I believe that would be very powerful to do something like that, to show how many minutes she lied there before someone found her and how long she laid there without help. I mean, somebody could have came and helped her. Somebody could have taken her to the hospital. Somebody could have administered whatever needed to happen at the scene or get her as quickly to the hospital as they could. Maybe it wouldn't have had a different outcome. Let's be honest. She was hit by a vehicle. And she was a small, petite girl. But that doesn't matter. At least we could have said we tried, right? But instead she lied there dead. Well, lied there until she died. So. Kaya, Alicia Hot Wheels. Thanks. Let me know who you guys are, because I know some of you guys I don't know. But you know, I also everybody's welcome. So she could have made it. Seclusion work. She could have made it. She could have made it. Sammy says, when I hear a town has 3,000 people, I think of high school and the way rumors can spread, etc. That is so true, right? This, you know, I mean, you would think it would happen in a small, but when there's more people and it's circulating around, yeah, it's absolutely something that is common. We had all kinds of different cliques in the school, right? Like you name the kind of, you know, little kind of stereotype, you know, we had it, right? You know, jocks, you know, whatever. We had it all. So that's funny. Yeah, Kiki, that's where I'm hung up too. You would have thought that he would have wanted to help her. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because you don't want to leave somebody like that. I wouldn't want to be left like that, and I certainly wouldn't want anyone leaving my child like that. No. Okay, so let's look a little bit more at what Mr. Mendiola has to say.
Here, we are going to be here all weekend, and I believe we're here from 12 to 6 every day till Sunday, and then Monday is court, and then I'll be heading to PA for another case. And so if you guys would like, come on out. If you guys would like today, we'll be out here until 6 p.m. Come out. We can always use the love, the support, and the fellowship out here. Learn a little bit about this case and stand side by side with this family and let Alamance County know we're standing with this family. We are not standing with this injustice. We're not standing up for this injustice. This family deserves better from this county. This family deserves better. Nobody should be protected in any place across this country because of who they know. Not even me. Not even me. I know a lot of people. And I walk my walk and I do what I got to do, no matter what. I don't make those phone calls. Any way to stop this plea deal? Is there anything that can be done about this plea deal at this point?
What do you mean, like
with Josh, can they just not accept it? Can the judge not accept it? Is there a possibility of that?
Excuse me, what is your question?
Is there a way that the judge will not accept the plea deal that Josh entered into?
Que si no hay ninguna forma de que el juez no acepte los cargos de él. El plea es que la culpabilidad de él.
Okay,
porque él se quiere hacer culpable por poco para que le den 5 años. Entonces, pues eso es un plea que no debería de ser aceptado. El juez nunca ha dicho no voy a aceptar ese plea porque el plea de él es más grande. No ha dicho todavía nada.
No ha dicho todavía nada.
The judge haven't said anything.
So, is there and you're going to be writing the judge a letter too?
Yeah, we got to be writing tonight, like that we can take him over.
Is there anything anybody out there can do to help aid this, to stop this plea deal, to help you guys get stronger justice?
Not at the moment, huh?
This is the first trooper coming through. Yeah, he knows already.
Wow.
He knows. And I don't think, like for us say, the judge, he need to plead guilty. The judge, he need to check this case 100%. Because I think, like to Lydia already, I say, I think the corruption is coming from trooper to the DA, from the DA, and the lawyer is make a deal.
Yeah.
Right there is the deal.
That's
and the DA is just bringing the case over to the judge.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, I don't know pretty much about this case. It's got to be hard for him to say, he's only charged for hit and run. No, it's not hit and run. My daughter, she was alive 43 minutes. It's not an accident. It's not hit and run. And like for us, the hair was on this eye, for nails and everything. Why my daughter, she was over there on the ditch?
Yeah.
This is my question. My question is, and my answer is, she been moved.
Yeah.
She been moved.
All right. Well, the equipment won't stay cool enough for us. It's so hot. It just keeps shutting our stuff down. I can, but we are here to advocate for this young girl that senselessly lost her life. You know, and I'm glad something's better than nothing. But damn, it's just not enough. 5 years, really? He can be out in 2.5? Like, he mowed this woman over. And he didn't blink an eye. The only reason why he came back, I know, is because if he could have lied about what he did, he would have. And he would have stayed gone. But it was too noticeable on his car. And he lives with mommy and daddy. How was he going to explain that? That's why he came back. Let's be honest. That man wasn't going to do anything. Soon enough. Lots of great support here, you know. So what I'm finding out in this particular matter, if you got to be honest, is that it sounds like this community has a lot of great people in it. A lot of great people. It's not the people of this community that are the issue. It sounds like it's the leadership of this community that appears that it might be the key to the issues that are going on here. But what we have is a law enforcement body that didn't follow proper procedures and protocols when investigating a vehicular homicide, which, to be honest with you, in the state of Florida, him leaving the scene would have made that a DUI. In the state of Florida, if you leave the scene of an accident and there's great bodily injury and or death, it doesn't really matter. Those are elevated charges for you in the state of Florida. So if you leave the scene, you're being charged as a DUI homicide, okay? And there's a fatality. If that's not the way it is here, it's the way it should be.
Okay, so I agree with that. And, you know, just kind of breaking it down just a little further there. So, you know, we hear Mr. Mendiola tell us how his daughter was found. Her hair and her fingernails and other parts of her were in one part of the crime scene, and she was over in the ditch. Don't forget that whatever vehicle hit Daniela would have also had pieces of her person on the grill of the vehicle. So her father thinks that she was moved from where she was into the ditch, hidden away, to sit for 43 minutes to ultimately pass away. And 5 years is just not enough. It's just not enough. Betty says the community is very supportive. She said that the leadership is the key to the issues, and I would have to agree. I think that this is a case where vehicular homicide should have been the charge. Yeah, seclusion works, says dear Lord. I mean, absolutely awful. You know, absolutely awful. And I just can't imagine having to go to the scene of an accident like that where your child has been hit, but yet having to also witness the things that this family has witnessed. You know, it is just absolutely insane to me that somebody would allow for this. Hey, Tina girl, good to see you. Exactly. Where is her justice? Thank you. Tina girl says, hey, everyone, this is so sad. She's a human too. Where is her justice? Yeah, and that's all her dad wants is justice for her. You know, her family wants that for her. She did not deserve what she went through. You know, Kiki says, my heart breaks for that family. They shouldn't have to deal with this. Absolutely never. Absolutely never. No. And I think that, you know, any of us, if we hit someone and left the scene like this, it doesn't matter if we brought our parents, our grandparents, our cousins, our whole entire family, it wouldn't matter, right? At the end of the day, we would have been treated like we should have been, right? Given the proper rug test, making sure that we weren't under the influence of something. They would probably check the black box in our vehicle to see how fast we were going. Things like that, right? There would have been a full-on investigation, as there should have been. And I would expect to have my ass hauled down for questioning. You know, Seclusion Work says, my wife was a trauma ER physician, and she once told me if someone reaches us within 30 minutes, we can do near a miracle. Wow. See, that is so powerful. Seclusion Works. Thank you. You know, just put it in perspective, you know, because honestly, she would have been in bad shape, guys. You know, I can't lie and say, you know, she would have just bounced back from all of this and everything would have been fine, right? She would have been really beat up and in a bad situation from being hit by a vehicle. Again, she was petite. She was a tiny little girl. You know. Hey, Justice Jane 24. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. God, it's just awful. It's horrible, Kiki. Thank you, Seclusion Works, for your prayers. I'm praying with you. I am, guys. It is so absolutely unnerving. And you know, there's some more. We're going to hear some more from Daniel, and he's going to tell us, you know, what's happened. They never did do an investigation, Kiki. It's my understanding that the investigation was not done, that it was just treated like a hit and run with a fatality. And because he pled guilty, they said, okay, we're going to only give you this really light sentence of 5 years. Exactly, Tina. And that's the whole thing. But she could have had a chance. That's the point. She could have been saved. Absolutely. She could have been saved. And like I said, you know, if he had just picked up the phone and made an anonymous call, it really could have made all the world of difference. But instead, his mindset was getting to his parents and getting out of any accountability, in my opinion. You know, it's absolutely awful. Let's watch this next clip here.
So even if they do have the same laws here in North Carolina that we have in Florida, because their law enforcement body did not follow the proper procedures and protocols for that type of investigation, they botched, B-O-T-C-H-E-D, botched their investigation. And therefore, because of this very well-known practice and procedure, remember, we're two rocks, so this is our life. We know policy procedures. We know them like the back of our hand, and we know that in many cases and in many states, if there is a fatality, they are required to go down and get a blood work in a blood draw. Now, I'm pretty confident that at the time that this fatality happened, that was the law here in the state of North Carolina. And that well-known law was intentionally and willfully not done when it came to a guy that has political connections in their county. Now, if you don't want the appearance of impropriety, you hold officials and their family to a higher standard, not a lower one. Not a lower one. And this county held them to a lower standard. And they're the ones that are suffering. They're the ones with the life sentence. Why this man was known to be speeding and to be under the influence of substances, predominantly marijuana and other things. He likes to race around here and record himself going in excess of 100 miles an hour multiple times. And ultimately, a girl lost her life. He left the scene of the accident, didn't show up until almost 20 minutes to a half an hour later in a different vehicle. And from my understanding, witnesses saw him kick a phone off the road. That is tampering with evidence, i.e. obstruction of justice. None of these charges, all of these charges are being overlooked in the case of Daniela Mendiola. All of them. So we've got problems here with the Sheriff's Department. And we've got problems with the DA, quite frankly, because the deal that they're getting is crap. Let's be honest, it's crap. It looks like a sweetheart deal for a politician's son. If that's the continued appearance that this county wants to have, I'm happy to make that be the appearance that you have. But if that's not the appearance that Alamance County wants to have, especially in light of already the court record that is not very pleasing toward the sheriff, you know, we got problems. But here we have a situation where I'm absolutely confident. This is probably another Bardstown, Kentucky situation. So Bardstown, Kentucky has some really good officers. And you guys might hear Bardstown, Kentucky brought up a lot because there was another case in there, Crystal Rogers' ex-boyfriend Brooks House is right now in trial for her murder from 2015. Long time coming. But there's corruption in that county, and there was a lot of people. Brooks House had millions and millions of dollars. His wicked mother, she's next to Mommy Dearest, and come to find out, she's the one that planned this hit on Crystal that Brooks ended up taking out. Instead of it being his, it sounds like he did it for his mommy. Well, I don't know what's going on with these mommies and sons. We got some issues up here. But he went all this time without being held accountable for his crime, and it was absolutely the deep-rooted and deep-seated political game that they were playing until finally somebody with a backbone said enough. And next thing you know, the whole entire family's going down. And that's exactly the way it should have been. It should have happened 10 years ago. I don't like politics screwing with families. I don't like politics and poor policing creating even more victims from the families of the victims. We're here to expose, empower, and educate, right? It's not just criticism. We come out here with a bunch of stuff to help law enforcement do their job. We absolutely support more money being funneled into their police departments and sheriff's departments. And we absolutely believe in proper and ongoing training of law enforcement officers, and de-escalation practices are a must in any law enforcement body. And if any law enforcement body around this country in any county does not have a public information officer, you need to hire one. They are invaluable, and they keep people like me at bay. So if they're not following those simple procedures, they're going to probably have problems when they have big news cases like what we're dealing with here, as well as on the other cases that we cover. So I'm going to get out here and keep advocating for the people. Please keep supporting this. This is for Daniela Mendiola, again, a young teenager that lost her life because somebody liked substances and liked to thought a car was a plane. So that's that, and now here we are. And you know what the aftermath is? This is the aftermath right here. This right here is the aftermath. This is the, you know what, Daniela, she can't feel, she can't see, right? They can. This is the aftermath. These people with broken hearts, these people not being able to sleep, these people having nightmares, these people wanting justice and wanting closure. These people are the ones that feel. And they're the ones that are here fighting, and we're going to join their fight and hopefully help bring some much needed attention to this case. Much needed attention to this case.
Okay, guys. So, yeah, definitely a botched investigation, no doubt about it. And we talked about botched investigations here in the Crystal McCrory Jones case. We've talked about botched investigations in the Sebastian Rogers case, We see a botched investigation in Bardstown, Kentucky when it comes to Crystal Rogers, who obviously is no longer with us. She's still out there somewhere, but right now Brooks Howe, her former boyfriend, has been charged in the 2015 disappearance. His mother took a hit out on this young woman, or wanted one, and he did it for her. So, you know, it's so unfortunate. So in this botched investigation with Danny Mendiola's case, there was no blood work taken at the scene, but there's a law that requires that. So by law, if there is a situation like this that happens, your blood is taken at the scene. But that did not happen here. So we have special treatment because, again, if any one of us had done this, we would have had our blood work taken because that's the law, right? How are some people above the law? Tina Girl says, wow, sounds like somewhere we know too. Am I right? Yes, ma'am. I agree. And there's a lot of cases like that, right? And it's not just in Hendersonville, Tennessee, right? It's not just in Bardstown, Kentucky. It's not just here in North Carolina, in Liberty, North Carolina. It's not. It's not. It happens all the damn time. And it could be one of our family members or us next if we do not put a stop to it. Because I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I think it's human nature that if we do not suffer consequences for our actions, then we do not properly learn from them. And that's the whole idea, right? Is to learn from your mistakes and do better and all of that jazz, right? But if we don't suffer any consequences and we're given a sweetheart deal because we're a politician's son, then we're not going to learn our lesson. And I believe that we're putting others in danger by not holding this person accountable. It's for the greater good of everyone. Danny already lost her life. Let's not have someone else lose theirs. Because if he mows down like a 3-year-old, people are going to be outraged, as they should be. But Danny was only 17 years old, and she had a whole life to live, and she could have done such great things for the world if she was given the chance. So Danny's family ultimately is the one that gets the life sentence here, not Mr. Joshua Brown. Joshua Brown left the scene of the accident, and he was gone for about 20 to 30 minutes before returning with his mother and father in a different vehicle. Someone needs to get a backbone in this situation. I completely agree with what Betty said. And I also agree with what she said about creating victims from victims. So, you know, we already have a situation where Danny has been victimized, but why victimize her father, her brother, her family who loves her? It just seems like insult to injury, right? Adding an insult to injury, you know? Seclusion Work says Tina 100%, Christopher crystal clear. Step foot. Yes. Yes, exactly. Seclusion Work says we would have been tossed into jail, no questions asked. You know, and I would expect that too, you know, because I would feel bad. I would have remorse. I would feel really, really bad, you know? Oh, and well, just do your best. I could try to just do your best, and I could try to decipher it. I know sometimes with typos we got to decipher it if somebody types in there, because I know sometimes when chat's going fast, it'll autocorrect it and stuff like that. It happens to me all the time. But yeah, so I couldn't agree more with the reason they're out there protesting. I think it's very important to do those types of things when there is an injustice and come together as a community, as people, and fight for what's right. Because if we don't do it for each other, no one will. You know, Daniel Mendiola is our hero father here for the night, right? We have a lot of hero dads, we have a lot of hero moms that we talk about on the show, and we give them credit where credit is due, and we let them know that we stand with them and we support them 100%, right? And that we care, and that we are just as equally outraged as they are. But I want to shout out to Daniel Mendiola, because he has absolutely done everything that he can to be the voice for his daughter. And, God love him for it. And we stand with him. We stand with him. Okay, so these clips we're going to get into, this is going to be Daniel's words and how he feels and what he thinks about what is going on here. And you'll just see the love and dedication of a father who loves his daughter. So here we go.
But we definitely stand with this family, and I say no to any type of racism and any type of impropriety based upon skin color. Just saying.
First thing, I want justice, and I just want to give like he needs to be charged for homicide, because Balao in North Carolina, and for you hit and run and come back in different car, he left the evidence at home. The means is he can be for 50 years or for life in prison. I don't know why he's trying to give an only hit and run like it's nothing happens. As the DA, she needs to do a better investigation on it, because we not trust the troopers anymore. We need to trust the county, the people lives in the county, but not the law. I don't trust it anymore. And I want justice for my daughter. And I just wonder why the trooper is not take the blood test to Josh Brown. The first thing, troopers is not do the investigation right. And another thing is, I got a friend of mine, he had an accident 3 months ago. The same problem, the same issue. He stopped, he called 911. The troopers, the first time he asking, hey man, you been drinking? No? Do I can do the blood test? Yes, he did, and I got a picture with me. And I want to show to the DA on the court day, what is the difference? It's the same state. We require the blood test, make sure he was not intoxicated. Another thing is, the first time we're not coming over to the accident, the firefighter and the state troopers, he told me he was in custody because he was intoxicated. And later on, after he found out who was the guy, he's letting go because he's not have enough evidence. We need justice for Daniela. And for his not, I will give me a lawyer to give the county.
How many minutes was she left in the ditch?
She was in there about 43 minutes. He can be save her. The problem is, it sounds bad, but he let him go because first time, she got to be the first witness. Second time, he have to pay her for life because she not got to be able to work. This is why he's letting go. And this not make sense. Left, coming back 20 minutes later. We need justice. We need justice.
In the same or a different vehicle?
Different vehicle. He come back in different vehicle with his parents. And I need charges for the parents too.
And he is allegedly the son of a trooper. People are talking around town.
Well, we're trying to find out more and more about him, but a lot of people is like, we're working on it too. but we try to find out more details. It's for everybody's sake, you know. But I want justice for Daniela. You know, it's not wait 10 months, this man is still free. Now he plead guilty already because he's making a deal between the DA and the lawyer. I know what kind of deal is. I know pretty much about cases. The only thing I need to do, and I need to work on it, I want a justice for Danny. And another thing is, this county is all corruption. We already have history by this county, back from 2000 to now. We have a lot of corruption in this county, and we need a new system. This system needs to be fixed, because it's not matter who you are. You can be black, white, no matter what color you are. Justice is for everybody. Not just because I have connections over here, I have connections over there. He gotta be covered. It's not. Be better fixing, you know, doing better work. Show to the county we have the right justice on this place. We have the right cops, the right, you know, help.
What are your thoughts on the current governor?
Well, I called the governor a couple times and I explained and everything. And I just want justice. I need help. And for this county can't do the help, I'm going to another county. And for the other counties not give me another help, I'm going to the next county. I'm going to the next county. This place is all about money. No lives. It's all about money, this county. You need to care about the lives too.
Okay, so this, you heard him. This place is all about money, not about the lives. They need to care about lives too. It's just so sad. It's just so sad. So Daniel is a father that wants justice. He wants whoever did this, I mean, and I don't know a whole lot about this guy, right? I didn't do a deep dive on him any way, shape, or form. But his name is Joshua Brown, and he has pled guilty here. But he wants justice for his daughter, Danny, charged with homicide would be justice in his opinion. He says that the DA did not do enough to charge this person. He has a major distrust in the county, and he tells a story about a friend of his who was involved in a similar situation, but he stopped and called 911, and the police asked him, you know, have you been drinking tonight? And he says no. And they said, well, can we give you the blood test? And he said yes. And so, you know, that's expected from someone who isn't under the influence, right? Because if you're under the influence, then you're probably not going to want them to test you. Some states, you know, you can refuse to, you know, incriminate yourself or blow into the machine or whatever. Some places we require that you are given, you know, proper testing for intoxicants or for substances when you injure someone, right? So it's just awful. I don't understand, you know, what the disconnect here is, because the law does require that they make sure that no one is under the influence when this happens. So, and you know, his quote here, Daniel says, we need justice. And he would like the parents to be charged as well. And, you know, my question would be, who moved Daniela if she was moved? Was it too hard for him to move her himself, so he went and got help? Are they involved? To what extent are they involved, right? Did he call them on the way to the house and say, hey, I'm coming to get you guys and we need another vehicle? Did his mommy drive him, or did his daddy drive him, or what happened there? uh, because, if he was intoxicated, then he was leaving the scene of the crime intoxicated, and he could have very well hurt someone else on the way back, and, decided to continue on driving while intoxicated. If he did, of course, allegedly. And Daniel talks about a history of corruption in the county. He says that justice is for everybody. Just because you have connections, it doesn't mean anything, basically. And he said he called the governor, nothing, right? That this place is all about money, not about lives, and they need to be about lives. Oh, there you go, Sammy. That's a great idea, to hit the mic and talk into it. Voice to text. There you go. Thank you. And Anne says, my brother hit an embankment and left to go to my sister's house to get her husband to see if he can help him get his truck out of the embankment. The police was there to take him. Oh, okay. The police were upset that he left the scene, even though I see for leaving the scene. Yeah. Yeah. Cause even if you have an accident at all, they don't want you to do that. They want you to call. I agree with that 100%. Kiki says, I agree. Everyone should be treated equally. Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't matter, who you know, and, or anything like that, or whose son you are, or, no matter what it is, because we're all just people, and we should all be held to the same standards. And then even so, if you're a public figure, you should be held to a higher standard. That's one thing I really like about Grady Judd. He holds his employees, to a higher standard than he does, say, you or I. He just does, and I agree with that. Kiki says we have Latino American friends, and it's really sad how there's a difference in the way that they're treated in Tennessee. Yeah, Kiki, I appreciate you saying that, because I know it's kind of a tough subject. Some people are like, oh, people shouldn't be so woke, and and I get that. I feel like that too in different ways, but I also feel like we can't act like it doesn't still exist, because it does, and it's just kind of a deep-seated, kind of an old-fashioned way of thinking, but throughout history, I think every race out there of people, ethnicity, has felt some form of racism. And if we think even back to when people used to come over on Ellis Island, and then they have huge signs saying, don't hire Irish, and things like that. So, and, obviously we have slavery in our history, and we have things like people just not liking someone just because of the color of their skin, right? Neo-Nazis and all kinds of radical thinking types of people that are disenfranchised to begin with, and then they join a group because they want to belong. And there's really no criteria for belonging to these hate groups besides that you don't have any type of ethnic blood. Many of them are very strict, and some of them are a little hypocritical, and it's a very strange hatred, right? Because there's nothing really about it, right? Well, because you're Irish, I don't want you working for me because you're a horrible person, and because somebody told me you were, or because you're Jewish, I don't like you because of, whatever history repeating itself, because we do see that even now, with anti-Semitism. It's just an ignorant, racist, ideology. And again, like I said, I think that a lot of the people that get involved in that type of a group in the first place is just really so they can feel like they belong to something, right? But at the end of the day, it's I mean, I personally couldn't join any type of a group that would burn a cross on someone's, lawn and call that a Saturday night. That's just not my idea of fun. I don't think it's proper to hate anyone, but somebody that didn't even do anything to you, and you're just like, hey, I want to hurt someone because of the color of their skin. It's and I've felt it in different ways, and I think a lot of us have, um, and it is it's hard to explain, but it's kind of like when you can just feel the tension in the air, right? And you can tell that this person doesn't like you, and you're struggling to figure out, why or whatever, and then you realize it's that, or you see how you're being treated, like you said, Kiki, differently than your friends who, are of color. And, I'm mixed. So, my mother is white and she looks European, right? And then my father's, full Hispanic. And so, and I take after his side more, of course. But, you know, for me, I've kind of seen like both ends of it, right? In that regard. And so I do make it a point to just be mindful that it does still exist, and it may exist forever, just because some people would rather hate than love. They would rather join a group that does that than that goes out and tries to do something good. And we're always going to have that. And it may be because they're damaged, I think that's probably why, as a matter of fact. But thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Sammy. You're so sweet. Um, it happens today. Yeah, sure. And then, people would get upset about like things like affirmative action, and they would say, oh, well, gosh, how come we have to do that? Well, that exists. And so we have to even the playing field. There's just been so much of it throughout history, guys. I could go on and on, really, unfortunately. I mean, I wish we could say, oh, it was isolated. We recognized that wasn't proper, and that nobody deserves that, and that we wouldn't like it happening to us. And so, it's ancient history. It's never going to happen again. But unfortunately, people will always find a reason to hate. Or to blame someone else for their troubles, with Hispanic people. I hope I don't get in trouble for some of this. But, I'm just trying to keep it real with you guys. But I mean, there's people that have been out there and been like, oh, the Hispanics are taking all the jobs. And it's like, oh my God, I mean, come on, so like either side of the aisle where I hear ridiculousness, I'm just kind of like, come on, but that those are the types of things that you hear, and the stereotypes that, some of our great comedians like Dave Chappelle tried to, you know, put in our faces and show us, and we still don't get it right. It doesn't matter how many people try to, um, you know, stop this type of thing. It just, whatever group or another will be targeted, unfortunately, and it sucks. I wish I had an answer, because I do. I'd rather find solutions than sit here and complain. But in this situation, like I said, thinking back historically, I just think it will always exist, and it'll just be up to us as humans to not go along with it, and find positive hobbies, find positive hobbies and find positive people to hang around with. Oh, Kiki says, yes, I agree, lady. My future daughter-in-law is biracial, and we've had hate groups by my home while she has, oh my gosh. she has been there, got them on video, and called the cops. Good for you, Kiki. Yeah, because I mean, what in the world? And that's what is tough. And I'm glad you said that. That's kind of what I mean by I've seen kind of both sides of it. I've seen people say things about even my father, and then my mother, being Caucasian, I've seen her get her fair share of stuff too. So I mean, it's just but we should always stand up against it like you did, and always take the proper routes, because when we look at Daniel Mendiola, I mean, I feel his outrage, and I just want to be like, gosh, I bet he'd love to get a hold of this SOB for doing this to his daughter and thinking that he can get away with it. And instead he's out there and he's doing the right thing, right? Because two wrongs don't make a right. So he's doing the right thing here. And I'm absolutely proud to say he's our hero dad tonight. um you know God loves us all. God made us all, Kiki. Exactly. Nope. God calls us to love. That's right. And, he does. He does. And, that's one thing that would really help a lot of these people, too, is if they were able to find some kind of, church or something to go to, or even pick up their Bible and interpret the word theirself. That would help out so much more than going to a negative group that, like I said, is already like messed up. There's something wrong with these people that are like hating this much, right? Maybe somebody of color took their parents or something, or hurt somebody in their family, and so now they have that bias, you know reminds me of something kind of like when Sherry Papini said that the two Hispanic ladies were the ones that took her and were hurting her and torturing her and all of these things. Her family and her husband was very scared then moving forward when they'd see a Hispanic person. And it was because of what she said and, put out there, which was a lie. By the way, Sherry, you're a friggin' liar. But that's what happens, right? Because you just kind of create that bias, and then that fear takes over. And it's like, then anybody you see that fits that description is going to be someone that you may be afraid of, right? Or you might develop a bias against. It's not like you're a bad person because of it. It's just kind of something that happens. But, you know, Seclusion Work says, I tasted that bigotry when I walked down the street holding my wife's hand. Thankfully, the crowd told the loudmouth to shut it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I'm sorry that you guys had to deal with that. That's terrible, because we should be able to love whoever we want to love, and it shouldn't matter to anybody else because, we're the ones that have to live with that person, but then also, think about how you would feel if somebody was mistreating someone that you loved. You wouldn't like it, and thanks, Kiki. So are you. Someone can have my job, Meg. Oh my goodness, Meg, you're funny. That's too cute. Well, and I mean, it's just so unfortunate when we see these types of things. Um, Seclusion Work says, my wife had a great quote. We are all members of the great family called humanity. It's time we start acting like it. Amen. That is so great. I love that. That is a great quote. And we are. And, the sooner we realize it or we think of it that way, I think the better off we will all be. Right? Because if you look at it that way, then you would treat people differently, right? You would treat them like family. Yeah, that's fantastic. Your wife is a smart lady. Um, Great quote. Yeah, absolutely. Kiki, I agree. Um, it's just so important to remember that we're all just people. I mean, gosh, we all, you know, put our pants on the same way. We all, care about our families. We all want our children to do well. There are so many just innate things as a human race that we all have in common. And then the wonderful thing about that I love, being a Chicago girl, is just all the different cultures. I love everybody's culture because it's interesting, right? It's different, it's new, and you never know what can happen, right? And learning about it is really neat. The only ones that I probably don't get down with would be like maybe like some voodoo crazy shit. But like other than that, it's like, hey, what kind of food does your family make? And stuff like that is my cup of tea. Anne says, here in the part of North Carolina, the Mexicans do work and the people that are from here. So we have a lot of Mexicans. Yeah. And, I think that anybody who is willing to work should be working, right? It doesn't matter whether, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a green Martian. I know that's maybe an old fashioned saying, but, I don't care if you're a damn green Martian. If you're willing to work and we need people to work in certain positions, then, if somebody else isn't willing to, then that's their own damn fault. It didn't have anything to do with anybody's skin tone, um, you know, or how, any of that. It's about, are you willing? Are you able? And do you have the skill set? If you have those things, then you should have the job, right? It shouldn't matter what color you are or anything like that. It shouldn't matter what religion you are, none of that. Oh gosh, Kiki says, I'm telling you, when I have grandbabies, oh dear, oh dear, anyone is racist, and then Mama Bear is going to come out. Yes, exactly, Kiki. I agree. And that's the thing. When it happens and it's a little child, I swear, oh, just don't let me be around it or see it, because it's probably not going to be good. I'll probably need to get held back, because I mean, gosh, to do that to a child is just completely awful. None of us can control the people that we're born to or anything like that. Again, God chooses that, in my opinion. So it's just how it is. Yes. Oh gosh, food. Yes. Ramon's wife and her tamales. Oh, now I'm craving tamales. Yes. Oh gosh, I love all different types of food, guys. I am really really into it. And Seclusion Works is food, right? Um, I am really into it. And, like when I moved to Springfield, Missouri, there was not like a lot of culture, right, or anything. And a Chicago girl, like I have a certain standard when it comes to things like Italian food, right? And I'm like, I have to learn how to make Italian food better, so I can just make it at home, because you ain't gonna find anything really great out that way when it comes to something like that. Same thing, goes for Mexican food. Now, there were a couple of really good places, I can't lie, but the most popular ones were like Americanized versions of Mexican food, and I'm like, I just can't get down with that. You know, but I like authentic, and that goes for any, food. I love authentic. So, and I love getting to know other people and cultures. I just really enjoy it. Um, and I like having friends that are all different. I'm more of a, variety is the spice of life kind of thing. Like I like different people. So, but I'm going to play this next clip here of Mr. Mendiola and kind of what he has to say, more about what he has to say about how he feels about what happened to his daughter, Daniela.
And this isn't the first time that there's been corruption with troopers. I think you told me 180 cases of not...
180 cases these troopers was found over there in Raleigh, North Carolina. 180. I cannot believe it's not being fixed. And later on, we watched the news again, and these people have fake statements, not real people. You know me? This is why we know pretty much everything about this county and the whole, well, couple counties. The first one I know is this one.
And what are your thoughts on the first trooper that was assigned to Daniela's case? He was 23 years old.
See, the trooper, the one he have Daniela's case, is at 23 years old. He not have enough experience to do this kind of work. Maybe he been a trooper maybe 1 year or 2 years. He's not have enough experience. We need justice and justice and justice from anywhere for Dani. Dani, she need to be justice because she need to be rest and peace. And these people, he just left this guy go free and still free. And free's been me. I'm been for life already in prison. You know, just because I don't have connections on this place. But now, we justice for Daniela right now. We need justice every day. We working on it. We working every day. Like I told the DA the other day, I said, why you don't want to put the homicide charge? You know it's a homicide charge. I said, she was alive all her life because the way he left it. He stopped. He knows he stopped 40 seconds and he left and coming back in different car.
And
like,
he was also...
Balao, North Carolina, and for you come back in different car, you done. It's done.
And they gave a plea deal, and you don't agree with the plea deal they gave him?
No, because this is a deal.
Yeah.
This is a deal. When you make a deal with the lawyer and the DA, it's a deal. It's a deal. And we need justice.
Do you think that he feels any remorse?
Any what?
Joshua Brown feels remorse for what he did.
Well, I'm, you know, like, I don't been hearing anything from him. I don't know where he is. You know, I just want to say, you know, like, the only thing we know is because my witnesses, people I know, but everybody wants justice for Daniela on this county. Everybody support me. I'm so happy with that because every state support me on this case, and I just want to say thank you to you and you for everything you've been doing for me and y'all here again. We have the evidence. Trooper, he left the evidence. That means these people don't have no evidence. We have the evidence.
And you have the evidence because law enforcement made you collect the evidence.
Yes, he made me pick it up, everything. He told me I give you a bag and I gave you gloves to pick it up, everything.
What did he make you pick up specifically?
Yeah. Tell the audience
what was it that you had to pick up?
What?
You got back the autopsy report and it said she...
And I have to fight for my daughter. She was turned 17 years old. I cannot believe this man took her life.
And this isn't the first time that there's been corruption with troopers. I think you told me 100.
I'm sorry about that, guy.
180 cases these troopers was found over there in Raleigh,
Sorry
North
about
Carolina.
that, guys. We might have to watch this clip over again. And I
cannot
apologize.
believe it's not being fixed. And later on, we watch the news again, and these people have fake statements, not real people. You know me? This is why we know pretty much everything about this county and the whole, well, couple counties. The first one I know is this one.
And what are your thoughts on the first trooper that was assigned to Daniela's case? He was.
I also want to say I was trying to say trigger warning.
See, the trooper, the one he
about
has
what's
Daniela's
coming
case,
up next.
is at 23
Trigger
years
warning.
old. He don't have enough experience to do this kind of work. Maybe he been a trooper maybe 1 year or 2 years. He's not have enough experience. We need justice and justice and justice from anywhere for Dani. Dani, she need to be justice because she need to be rest and peace. And these people, he just left this guy go free and still free. And free's been me. I'm been for life already in prison. You know, just because I don't have connections on this place. But now, we justice for Daniela right now. We need justice every day. We working on it. We working every day. Like I told the DA the other day, I said, why you don't want to put the homicide charge? You know it's a homicide charge. I said, she was alive all her life because the way he left it. He stopped. He knows he stopped 40 seconds and he left and coming back in different car.
And
right?
he was also...
Balao, North Carolina, and for you come back in different car, you done. It's done.
And they gave a plea deal, and you don't agree with the plea deal
No,
they gave him?
No, because this is a deal.
Yeah.
This is a deal. When you make a deal with the lawyer and the DA, it's a deal. It's a deal. And we need justice.
Do you think that he feels any remorse?
Any what?
Joshua Brown feels remorse for what he did.
Well, I'm, like, I don't been hearing anything from him. I don't know where he is. I just want to say, like, the only thing we know is because my witnesses, people I know, but everybody wants justice for Daniela on this county. Everybody support me. I'm so happy with that because every state support me on this case, and I just want to say thank you to you and you for everything you did for me and y'all here again. We have the evidence. Trooper, he left the evidence. That means these people don't have evidence. We have the evidence.
And you have the evidence because law enforcement made you collect the evidence.
Yes, he made me pick it up, everything. He told me I give you a bag and I give you gloves to pick it up. Everything.
What did he make you pick up specifically?
Yeah. Tell the audience
what was it that
you
had to pick up?
What?
What did they make you pick up?
Just because he said he have enough evidence.
No. ¿Qué? Like.
Well, I was calling him. I said, we found hair, we found nails, and we found a piece of skin. And I called him before we pick it up anything. And he coming over and we tell him, look, right here it is. And he said, look, we have everything already. We don't need any more evidence. We got him already. I said, dude, we can pick it up? He said, yes. I'll get you a bag and gloves, and you pick it up.
Leaving biological material on the side of the road, including teeth, hair, skin.
Pretty much, yeah, teeth, hair, and the skin.
It's awful.
And for you see the hair and the skin on this side, and the body was on the ditch, the means is she been moved because she not have no blood around her. She not have no blood around her.
That's just awful. It's awful.
This is the problem. Another thing is, when you hear somebody leaving, coming back in different car, Balao, North Carolina, you going to get at least 50 years and off for life.
Yeah, they didn't even charge him with leaving the scene of an accident.
Nothing.
With a fatality. That's huge.
Exactly.
In Florida,
Right.
just like you said, you're done.
It's done.
You're done,
It's
son.
done. It's done. He needs to be in jail. And I want to pray these 3 days, tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. I want to pray to the judge. I hope he doing his job, I want to appreciate him and for he doing his work. And for he wants to take this case longer, no problem. I want to see this man in jail since day one. Since day one. The problem maybe just between the troopers and the DA is trying to cover everything that the judge team don't know nothing about this case. This is what I think. It's between troopers and DA. It's trying to cover everything.
Okay, guys, so sorry about that. We had to watch that again because I went to go let you know there was a trigger warning coming. I meant to write down which clip this was because that was absolutely brutal. So Mr. Mendiola says that when they watched the news that the story had changed and so did the statements. And then he is alleging that there were faked statements by people who were brought in who didn't have anything to do with what happened here. He also said that there was an inexperienced trooper, and I don't believe that to be true. I think that the investigation was absolutely botched on purpose. And I don't mean any disrespect to Mr. Mendiola when I say that. And I think he's just being kind and probably trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not going to. He's free just because of his connections. And I agree with that 100,000,000,000%. That's right, Meg. His daughter is not a deal. That's right. Thank you. Kiki says, I'm here in a country bumpkin and I make chicken and dumplings and cornbread. I'm starving now. I love all of that too, by the way. Like I love biscuits and gravy too. I know. Oh gosh, Kiki, it's heartbreaking, and then it's absolutely devastating what they make him do, you know. Seclusion Work says eats a burrito. That's so funny. I love that. But you know, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, he has a point on the trooper. Yeah, I mean, you know, just because this guy is a trooper, or excuse me, the son of a trooper, it seems like there was some special treatment that none of us would have gotten, because there were some certain laws that weren't even considered when charging this guy, right? Like, you know, leaving the scene of an accident when there's a fatality, excuse me. It's very good that he's not afraid to call them out, Kiki. I agree, you know, and it's something that takes a really strong person, right, to get out there and say that. I agree. I'm so glad that Betty went out there to help too. Yeah, absolutely. They did a really nice job. Definitely go check everything out, guys. They've been there all weekend, and they have both been kind of, you know, going back and forth. They were having overheating issues with their cameras because it was so damn hot out there. But they did a phenomenal job. I mean, just wonderful standing with the family the way they did. I am just, you know, so inspired by these ladies, you know. Megan L says his daughter isn't a deal. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, Betty's not bad at all. I'll tell you, I met Betty in person. She's a good person. She is. I have a little beagle, and he's mean as hell, and he's very territorial of me. And he was just fine with her being around me, and he was locked in the bedroom, and he wasn't barking it or anything. You know, he felt safe. So I go by that too. So Kiki says made him think pick his daughter's remains up is sickening. Can you imagine? I mean, talk about insult to injury, and talk about making a victim out of a victim from a victim, right? Absolutely bonkers. Like, it's almost like it's unfathomable. It's unfathomable, and sickening. And, you know, Megan L says he was made to collect evidence himself. Absolutely unreal. I mean, when you hear about it, they gave him a bag. It's unnerving. Thank you, Kiki. And that's why when I went to go click the mic button, it clicked it onto something completely different. I'm like, oh crap. But yeah, that's what I was doing. I wanted to do trigger warning because I was like, oh, this is the clip, you know, this is the one. I agree. The parents should have been able to do something, you know. Meg, you're right. Megan says, sadly, this happens more often than not. 5 years for DUI, unaliving 2 people half a mile from the hospital. I've seen it myself. I mean, absolutely crazy. I don't know. I might even tell the judge to lock me up for life if I hurt someone that bad, I think. I don't know. I just felt so bad, you know? Like, Oh, God. I know, Kiki. I'm so sorry. She says, good grief, this seriously makes me sick. They should have been a jury trial, in my opinion. I believe so too, Kiki. There never should have been a deal like this made ever, in my opinion. You know, maybe a 25-year deal or something. Yeah, plead guilty and we'll give you 25, you know, because they do get out early sometimes, you know, or good behavior, whatnot. Ooh, cheese dip sounds good. What a serious protocol evidence breach. Now it's unadmissible. Yeah, and I'll tell you, you know, I know that Mr. Mendiola has, you know, a thick accent. Um, so he was saying, you know, that he asked the DA. He said, you know, why is this not a homicide? My daughter was alive, you know, lying there in the ditch. And then this guy comes back in a different car. He's, you know, thinking that should be game over, right? Because by law, if you come back in a different car in North Carolina, you're done, right? You're done. That's it for you. It's Coitons for you. And that didn't happen here, right? Um, is Joshua Brown remorseful? Olivia asks. She says, do you think Joshua Brown is remorseful? You know, and feel free to answer, you guys. You know, like I said, I haven't done any research on this guy. It's not like he's come out and apologized. So I'm going to say no based on that. Based on that. Because, again, if I was to be in a position where I was getting my ass covered this good, I probably would write a letter of an apology. Because if you're already pleading guilty, then I think maybe a letter of apology is in order. If you're a coward, if you're not, then maybe you need to go to that man's face and tell him you're sorry. Because otherwise you're a coward and you have no remorse, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. So at the scene, Daniel Mendiola was upset because his daughter was hit by this vehicle. She was found lying in a ditch hundreds of feet away, over 100 feet away to my knowledge. I think they say exactly here coming up. But then you have her hair and her teeth and her nails and some of her skin in a different location than her body was found. And her body was allegedly found with no blood pooling around her or anything that you would expect if she landed there. So if she was hit on impact, the impact flung her to the ditch. There would have been blood pooling there. But instead, we have evidence everywhere, right? And some people might say, well, what if she was hit at such a high rate of speed that, forgive me guys, trigger warning please, but this is important. This is a human life right here, and I know it's sick, but we have to put it into perspective. Maybe parts of her would end up in different places, right? She may end up far away. Some of her clothing might be taken, like her shoes, right? I saw a really bad motorcycle, the aftermath of a bad motorcycle accident. I was working at one bar, and then there was another bar that was about a mile down the road, and two people driving way too fast came barreling down the street when one of the patrons from our bar was leaving the bar, and she hit them because she didn't have time to see them. They were coming so fast, It was all caught on our surveillance camera. Thank God, because this poor woman, she had one beer and one shot, and she was in the bar for 4 or 5 hours playing pool. And those of you who may not know, like when you have pool leagues and stuff, a lot of those people aren't in the bar to drink necessarily. They're in there to play pool, and they're trying to win, and so they want to keep their wits about themselves, but they may have like a beer, you know what I mean, and that sort of thing, but they're not getting drunk. Not like they're just belly up to the bar getting drunk, right? They're doing something in the bar. Same thing with poker. We'd have poker games on Sunday, and I always worked the poker games. And most of the time, I was bringing food out to people, and pitchers of Coke, because they're trying to keep their wits about them, and they were, trying to win. And so that's what this poor girl was doing. These other two, on the other hand, were piss loaded and, hauling ass down the road, which they never should have been. God rest their souls. Obviously, neither one of them are with us. But their shoes, when they were ejected from the motorcycle, their shoes were all over. Like, I saw the man's shoes in the road, right? Like, it was terrible. But that does happen on impact, because, depending on the speed and everything like that. And now think about a person who's just standing there, right? And so it would be absolutely devastating, the results, but you would expect to see wherever her body landed for her to be bleeding out of wherever she's injured, right? Nevertheless, her father was upset because they were leaving pieces of her behind, and they were not collected as evidence. And the police officer there, or whoever was on the scene, allegedly told him that they weren't going to pick that up because they had all the evidence that they needed, and that he would give him a bag to pick up her, again, trigger warning, this needs to be said, her hair, her teeth, her nails, and her skin. Right? Leaving biohazardous material from a human being on the side of the road. Her father believes that she was moved. And I do too. I do too. And again, and I believe Olivia goes into this more in her videos, so please go check them out. But she says, well, what she was saying was that it would take a scientist's perspective or an expert to kind of measure the different things, in physics wise, right? Like the velocity and the speed of the vehicle and all of these things. But in my opinion, it seems to me like they didn't even check for these things, right? They just botched the whole investigation. Don't worry about grabbing up all the evidence, leave pieces behind, literally, of a person, and then no big deal, right? Moving right along, nothing to see here. We're going to give this guy a sweetheart deal anyway. And his parents, who were well connected, were on the scene. Yeah. Where'd they get the forensics training? Uncle Larry's auto shop? Yeah, really. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If he had had any remorse, he'd have called 911. I agree. I could not have held it together as well as this father has. Yeah, I agree, Kiki. I couldn't either. There's no way. And see, seclusion works. I'm not sure how fast he was traveling. That's, I think, where, again, they didn't even give all of the information, and they could have gotten that information. I mean, obviously he's not going to say how fast he was going, but there are ways to tell from the vehicle, and how the vehicle tracks things like the little black box, or there's different electronics that can gauge that or tell that after the fact. So, think seclusion works. I think she may have been moved to Kiki. Yeah. Because if there was, again, like I said, if I'm not saying that there couldn't have been, you know, pieces because of how fast he was going or what have you. The rate of impact has to be considered. But I'll tell you, for her to be found that far away, kind of strategically hidden, in my opinion. Yeah, I think they did move her there, so no one would see her while they were gone. Or he did move her there so no one would see her while he was gone. I don't know that he stuck around very long. I would think he would try to get the heck out of there and on to go grab his parents like he did. But I don't know if maybe he did quickly leave the scene and come back and then they dragged her over there. I don't know. It would be hard, but she was small. She was petite. Um, you know, just me. Hey, just me, says this guy, in my opinion, has zero remorse. Yeah, I can't feel sorry because, the family's never gotten an apology. The reason from the DA wasn't like, oh, this guy's so upset and he can't believe what he's done. It was a horrible accident. None of that. We didn't hear that. So rate of speed times body mass index, and then you would divide by trajectory. Think seclusion works. I got to find out where she actually landed, to get you a better idea, because I want to say they said over 100 feet away. But you know me, I'm not good at math, so you're dealing with someone who is not good at crunching numbers at all. Oh wow! So seclusion work says, oh my, estimated speed of travel 70 plus miles per hour, right? And allegedly there's videos. I have not seen them, guys. Just to kind of be completely honest with y'all, I'm not gonna act like I saw them when I didn't. But I'm taking Betty's word for it that there are allegedly videos out there of him speeding around over 100 miles an hour, and like bragging on it, right? Like he's this like 36, or excuse me, he's like this 38-year-old guy, right? And he's like, I still want to go fast, and still has that like, teenager or early 20s mentality about him. And he likes to get, stoned to the bone and then go out and drive around at high rates of speed. And he shows that, like he showed that on his social media, allegedly. So that I can believe 70 miles per hour would be an estimated speed. Yes. And I mean, think about a small, petite young girl getting hit at that rate of speed at 70 miles an hour. She had nothing around her. It was not a car. She wasn't in a vehicle. She wasn't on a motorcycle. She wasn't even on a fucking Schwinn. And he hits her at, possible 70 mile an hour. That is just crazy. Hey, Miss Sarah C. from Kentucky. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Seclusion Works. Thank you. I know the impact, dear me, shudders. I know. Oh gosh, it is just, again, unfathomable just to think about. And he was probably coming so fast at her that she didn't probably have any time to even move out of the way, right? Because it's just so fast. And that was the problem with the story I just told you all about, the young lady coming out of the bar. They were coming down the road so fast that even if she looked both ways, she wouldn't have seen them because he was going, I don't even remember. I'm not gonna say how fast, but he was driving like a bat out of hell. Let's put it that way, because I don't remember exactly how fast. It's been some years ago. I was in my mid-20s when this happened, so I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, but just like nothing happened, Kiki. I mean, Jesus, it makes absolutely no sense, you know? Aw, Miss Sarah C. Aw, thank you. Seclusion Word says, can I do a hypothetical reaction time equation? Sure. Golly, don't ask me to do one, though. Oh, my gosh. Oh, boy, you guys would be in trouble with that. That is good. I'd have to shut down the live and get back to you tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know about it. All right, guys, so let's watch this next one. And again, he's just, Mr. Mendiola is going to tell us just basically what his feelings are. And we have just 2 more clips. Oh, yes. Okay. So 2 more clips. And then we're going to change gears over to Sebastian Rogers. So, but this is kind of the end of kind of Betty's first day, right? And that's what we've kind of gone over. But I mean, this man has stood out in the rain with his poster for his daughter. You know, he has just really been working so hard. And tomorrow morning they are going to court. So here we go.
And I have to fight for my daughter. She was turned 17 years old. I cannot believe this man took her life. I will take care of her the longest I can. Yeah. But by the time you turn around in 1 minute, everything is done. And it's not right. But this man is just left her in the ditch.
I just got you. So Daniel, tell us the story about Joshua Brown and how at first they were saying he was drunk and then they changed their story once they found out who he was.
Okay, I was coming over the night and the first guy I see is the firefighter, and I asked him, I say, where is the guy? He said, he was intoxicated, he was in custody. After that, I went to see the other troop. I see the trooper over there, and I asked him the same question. I said, where is the guy? He said, he was intoxicated, he's in custody. From there, my Daniela's brother, the other trooper told him the same thing. And 30-40 minutes later, everything changed. He said, we don't have enough evidence to take him to jail or to the custody. I said, what do you mean? I said, do you not see the tracks where he take off and he come back to the road? The other trooper told Daniela's brother he was intoxicated, he was in custody. And later on, I tell him, I said, look, I see the tracks where he take off and he come back to the road again. And he told me, I don't see anything. I don't have enough evidence to take him to jail or keep him in custody. And this is why I let him go. And I say, how I gotta know which one? Because he left and he coming back with his parents. I don't know which one he blow. How I gotta know? I say, you say you don't have no videos? You don't have no video camera on your chest? I don't know why he's not having any video cameras on his chest the night. It's a, you know.
That's a good point. No body cam footage.
And I asked him for that. He said, no, we're not carrying those. We're not carrying those. He said, we're recording everything from the car. Like for us say, these people is not being showing me anything. No voicemails, anything from.
Did they do any type of measurements out there at the scene?
I don't see anything. Nobody did anything in there. Nobody. I don't see anybody doing something in there. And it's like for us say, the only thing we looking for is justice for Danny, you know, because it's not way 5 years, and this case is like a homicide charge, and he just want to get 5 years.
Why do you think they changed the story about him not? Now they're saying he was not intoxicated. Was it because he is?
can be somebody these people knows. And because if it's been me, like any other guy, somebody else, we've been in jail already. Just because we don't have any connections inside. See, in the area where he lives, all sheriffs lives around. All sheriffs. Troopers, all kind of law work, lives around there. And this is why everything makes sense the way this trooper tried to cover this man. Because he never did the testing for the blood and everything. I got a friend of mine, he had an accident 3 months ago, the same accident, but he stopped and he called 911. And the trooper, he coming over, he said, you been drinking? No. Okay, I can do the blood test? Yeah, he did. I got a picture, like I can show to the DA. Why the night this trooper is not did nothing like that? Why? And like for us say, the DA, she needs to do a better investigation on it, better. Because this is between the trooper, the DA, and the lawyer. Is trying to work in this case together, like it is like he can play guilty. You know what I mean? This is why he plead guilty, like he can get less years and everything. Why? It's my daughter's life. My daughter's life is not 5 years. This kind of cases, like the one he have, hit and run and coming back in different car, it's a homicide charge. Every law knows that. Every law. Everybody knows it's a homicide charge. Can be 50 years or for life because he left her for 43 minutes. He can be save her.
43 minutes is a
Yes,
lot.
it's a lot of time. Yep.
Okay, guys. So yeah, he should have got 50 years, for leaving the scene of an accident with a fatality. But the evidence, again, was not collected. And Mr. Mendiola was being given the runaround, in my opinion, right? He says, quote, I have to fight for my daughter. He wants justice for Danny. We don't have enough evidence, is what the police told him that night. And he showed them the tracks that showed the vehicle take off and then come over, back over, right? And he's showing the officer the tracks. And the officer tells him, I don't see anything. I don't have enough evidence to charge tonight, right? So Joshua Brown walked free that night, and he's still walking free. So Mr. Mendiola asked the officers to see the body-worn camera, right? But there is no body cam, according to the officer on the scene. And he tells Mr. Mendiola that they record from their cars. So they do not wear a body-worn camera, and that they record from the cars. Joshua Brown is very well connected. They never did any testing on him. And it's Mr. Mendiola's opinion that the trooper, the DA, and the lawyers are all in on this sweetheart deal. And I can't say I disagree at all. I mean, I actually completely agree, because I can kind of see how this went down, and this is my opinion. But I share it with Mr. Mendiola. So I think that Joshua Brown has a lawyer who is working with the DA on cutting this deal because he's the son of a trooper. And because the DA probably knows them or someone who's affiliated with them. And that's how the good old boy system works, right? We saw it in the case of Alec Murdaugh's son, Paul Murdaugh, and his connections and how he was treated when he killed Mallory Beach and she was thrown from his boat while he was drunk driving it like a friggin' maniac again. And people are telling him, don't drive drunk, Paul. You're driving like a maniac. They're all trying to get the wheel from him. Now, all the kids were drinking that night. They all were. But Paul, whose boat they were in, he was one of the drunkest of the bunch. And as a matter of fact, the girls and the rest of them didn't want to stop at the bar where they stopped. But two of the boys did, and Paul was one of them. And he continued to get, again, piss loaded and get behind the wheel of his boat because ain't nobody going to drive his boat, right? He's an entitled little shit, in my opinion. And, you know, he ends up killing Mallory Beach. She's thrown from the boat and dies. And he was not photographed for his mugshot wearing orange. Oh, no, we can't have that. He looked like a gentleman, right? He had a button-down shirt, you know? Good night, just me. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. You know, but as I said before, guys, with Jamie Komorowski, she pled guilty. And she was supposed to get less time too. It was understood that there would be a lesser sentence, but the judge says, oh, no, no, no. And he gave Jamie Komorowski the max for her reckless drunk driving that resulted in the deaths of a bride and a groom on their wedding night. Because they didn't have their honeymoon. The groom woke up in the hospital to find out that his wife was dead. Because again, Jamie's little entitled ass thought that she was above the law and she could get in the car and not only be drunk behind the wheel, but speeding like a freaking bat out of hell in an area where she shouldn't have been speeding. You know? But, you know, Jamie was bar hopping all day and then sped around in an area where people, you know, were obviously driving golf carts, and it was a very low speed zone, 25 miles an hour. And, you know, people are supposed to drive with caution through the area, but not Jamie. And the judge threw the book at her. So who knows what the judge is going to do tomorrow, guys? We really don't know what the judge will do. But I'm praying that he does the right thing and he thinks about what if this was his child, you know? Just like nothing happened. Wow. Okay, so seclusion works. Thank you so much. Says 2/2000th of a second unnoticed, then oncoming car noticed 3 seconds reaction. Yeah. Okay, great. So, I mean, if you don't know, I mean, boy, oh boy, small time frame, like teeny tiny minute, right? And then 3 seconds, you have a 3-second reaction. Because, right, you can't believe what you're seeing. Your eyes are having to make that connection to your brain, right? And you're in shock at that moment because you can't believe that somebody is tearing ass towards you in a vehicle and you're standing there. Thank you for putting in perspective for us, Seclusion Works. I really appreciate that. That's science right there, folks. Science. So, lady, I've got to go to bed. Oh, good night, Kiki. Kids will be up early. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for praying for the family. I'm praying with you. The more prayers we get, guys, that's what works. That's what always has worked, you know? We're just people, but we're part of a bigger plan. Seclusion Works says even then it would be almost impossible. Yeah, because it's just the person's coming so fast right at you in a vehicle, right? It's just like if if an animal was hauling ass towards you, you know, you wouldn't even have enough time to move out of the way of that either, I don't think, you know? Oh, Just Me says the apple didn't fall far from the tree. The parents are no better. Uh-oh. See, and like I said, I didn't do a deep dive into this family or anything. I'm kind of just listening to people who have been on the scene, involved, who have done their independent research, right? But it's my opinion, kind of seeing this, and I even went and watched news coverage of this as well, and we did the clip in the beginning. When the story just isn't adding up, when a story that should be pretty cut and dry and doesn't have a whole lot of other possible outcomes, then we can see that there are some things that are being hidden, or that there are some lies being told. And here we can see that by the discrepancy in where the victim was when they were hit by the vehicle, because even the news said that it was alleged that she was walking in the middle of the road in the middle of the night. A 17-year-old with her full wits about her was walking in the middle of the road in the middle of the night. Okay. No, the real story was that she was getting picked up from her boyfriend's house, and she was standing in the driveway waiting for her ride when she was mowed down by a maniac going 100 miles an hour, again, that likes to get stoned to the bone and drive as fast as he possibly can around town. And then he documents it and acts like he's some kind of cool guy, like, he wants adoration from young men in their 20s who haven't really quite realized that, that's not what life's all about, right? And you could actually hurt someone or yourself doing that. There's reasons that they have speed limits. Ann Reynolds says some of the police here don't have body camera, and the police station has to buy them. For the county. Yeah, don't have long time. I'm in Macomb County. Okay, well, thank you, Ann, for letting us know that. Yeah, absolutely. And it does go into the budget, right? So if it's a smaller area with, say, 3,000 people, like we were told, that Liberty has only 3,000 people, then the responding officers may not have the same resources or the funding that a bigger office would have, right? And that's not the police officer's fault by any means. Seclusion works. Says easy math. I don't think any math is easy for me, except for I know how to give change back, and I'm good about that kind of stuff and basics. But oh gosh, don't give me an equation. My brain will hurt. But yeah, and and I do recognize that, and thank you for saying that, because it's true. It's just the smaller the police office or sheriff's department is, there's going to be more limited resources, less manpower, all of that. So really important to consider here, because maybe the training wasn't there, right? Maybe they don't require a lot to join the force, right? Maybe it's just, kind of hodgepodge. Sometimes you have to have that training and that experience and even some education. Sometimes they'll just let you right in and see how you fare. So it just depends. And if there's limited resources and not a whole lot of people, then of course it's, safe to say that there may not be the training based on the tax dollars that would be given and budgeted for those purposes. So thanks, Miss Ann. Thank you. All right, guys, let's watch this very last clip. And this is just the end of what Mr. Mendiola has to say, and then just a little bit back from Betty about her experience with law enforcement in the area this time around.
You got back the autopsy report, and it said she was alive for 43
These people never did autopsy on my daughter. Never did. I asked him if he's got to do it. He said, yes, we got to do it. He never did. But, like for us say, I'm just, like I told the DA the other day, why you don't want to put the homicide charge? He said, it's not homicide charge. I said, yes, it's a homicide charge. Just think about it, I say. It's like any government son just be on my side. Like, any government side, you know what I mean? And for somebody have the same problems like man right now, just because it's the law, these people can put these people in jail for life just because it's her daughter or son. But we need justice.
And so nothing going on. And then all of a sudden, like I told you, I know that they've got like card readers or tag readers somewhere in this town because they knew where I was when I pulled here. So I know they were expecting me. So I mean, somebody's already called, which I really don't care. I could give two craps. So long story short, I was followed in, and when we got into downtown, no cops to be seen whatsoever. And so we decided to park, and I set up the stuff because I thought I just wanted to get everything out to check on it. Oops, sorry, I almost hung up on you guys. Get everything out to check on it and stuff. Well, what had happened is it was so hot and Daniel wasn't there yet, and Olivia wanted some Wi-Fi. She was trying to get something uploaded. She wanted some Wi-Fi, and I wanted some coffee. And so we went to this little coffee house, and where we were, they couldn't see us, but I could see them. And so like this officer was on the opposite side of where we parked, and he had his patrol car, I've got a video of it, pointed at our vehicle, just kind of watching what was going on over there. And then they had the three officers, the three all of a sudden these three cops just show up downtown, within 20 minutes of us being there. And they were all sitting outside just kind of watching that direction, and apparently they got hot or something, and they were coming in to get a cool beverage, and that's when we realized they're coming in, and so we started walking out. I could see that we had, it looked like a captain or a lieutenant of some sort that rolled through in an SUV, and he was in the passenger seat of a cruiser, and I could see him. I could see the emblems on his arms, but nobody stopped, nobody got out of their vehicle or approached us, which is much different than the situation we had the first time we were here. So, it looks like they're letting this family have their time, and I think that's respectable and appreciative. So I will say that so far about this situation.
Okay, so possible license plate readers, but Betty said that they are letting the family have their time. So, we appreciate that law enforcement is backing off, and so that's my opinion there. But Olivia asks Mr. Mendiola about an autopsy, and he says that there never was one, that they never did an autopsy. Why? Why wouldn't you not do an autopsy? Do you not value Daniela's life? Because it doesn't seem like you do when you don't want to find out what happened to her. My question is, if that was your daughter, would you like for them not to do an autopsy, or would you rather them do an autopsy? Because in my opinion, I would want to know what happened to my child, my 17-year-old child, who was waiting outside for her friend to come pick her up from her boyfriend's house when she's mowed over by someone who is possibly under the influence and almost definitely driving way too fast and at a reckless speed. So we have a father who has now had to be reduced to begging the DA to charge this case according to the law. Why? Why does he have to beg for anything? Why does he have to beg for justice? Why did he have to pick up pieces of his daughter off of the side of the road, and the police said that they couldn't do it because they had enough evidence? But when it came down to arrest Joshua Brown. They said they didn't have enough evidence. Here's a father given a bag to pick up his own daughter's remains off of the side of the road, and then they claim they don't have enough evidence. But I thought you said you did have enough evidence when you gave him the bag. He's begging for them to charge this Joshua Brown with a homicide, but the DA claims that they can't, again, because they don't have enough evidence. So highly incompetent seclusion works. There's no other logical explanation. Seclusion Work says maybe they spent the forensics training funds so they can go sit at Krispy Kreme and boast how they're LE. Hey, Bobby, pass me that eclair. Seclusion Works. I needed that laugh. I mean, it's like, this is what builds distrust, right? Again, like we were saying before about just bias in general, right? So, it makes you angry at the police and not want to trust them when we see things like this happening. And that's not how the police want themselves to be represented. Most police officers want to have good rapport with the public. They want to be there to protect and serve. But we see time and time again this nasty corruption that is just absolutely the scum of the earth showing itself, right? The loud thunk of a jaw hitting the floor can be heard from southeastern Virginia. That was me when I first heard that. I mean, seclusion. I was bawling my eyes out, but I also couldn't believe, the audible gasp and all. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to think that this would be tolerated by the department, much less the DA, because, obviously deals are cut all the time, unfortunately. They are, and sometimes there is nepotism involved, and that's the reason, right? Or people know each other, or because it couldn't be little Bobby. I mean, he used to come over and play with my kids when they were little, right? None of us want to believe that the people that we've grown up with or known our whole lives could be capable of doing something so horrible, right? And in this case, it's not even something that was premeditated, right? Or maybe it wasn't even intentional. I don't really even believe it was. I can't sit up here with a straight face and tell you, he intentionally did this because he didn't like Hispanic girls and he saw her and he's like, hey, I'm going to hit this chick, No, I don't think so. No way. No way. But what I do think is that he was driving recklessly, probably under the influence, and he hit her and panicked and didn't know what to do. And instead of doing the right thing, he did the wrong thing. And I think it speaks volumes about who we're dealing with here when he's willing to leave this young woman to die while he covers his own ass. Good people don't do that. A good person. I mean, and not only that, I was thinking this today. I mean, it was drilled into us, right? What are the things that were drilled into us by McGruff the crime dog? And, I remember the police used to come to the school and do the fingerprinting and you give us the little cards and all that when we were little. But, 911. If there's an emergency, call 911. If you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll, right? They do these things as mnemonic devices to help the public remember these things, right? That's why 911 is just it's an easy thing, right? To dial. They don't make it 21 numbers because no one in a panic state or in some sort of a crisis situation is going to remember to call 951-748-2349. No one is going to remember that, right? 911. And even little kids know it. They're smart. They can get it. And if you teach them, this is what we do, and you keep telling them and telling them, they are going to know. And they're going to feel more comfortable in a situation where there's an emergency, and they'll know exactly what to do. And that's always call 911. The police are there for a reason. That's what they're there for. Right? And again, you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. That's why they make it easy, right? Because sometimes, and especially when you're in shock, you're not going to know what to do right away, right? So I get that. But again, he never made an attempt to call 911 immediately. Instead, he left the scene and took off. And then they're like, oh, there's not enough evidence here. Nothing to see here. Yes, justice for Nog. Yes, it is. It is. It's so, it's heart-wrenching. It is heart-wrenching. Thank you for being here. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible, and everybody needs to know about it, Yeah, Smokey the Fire Bear, only you can stop forest fires, right? It's catchy. We remember it. And it's something that you never forget, right? It's like, it's ingrained into us. It's just something, and that's how mnemonic devices work, That's my favorite thing with, when I study and stuff, I will make things up like that in my head to help me remember it, So but yeah, guys, on that note, I just want to close with Daniela Trejo Mendiola. Her case tomorrow is being put in front of a judge, but a deal has already been cut. 5 years for this beautiful life that we see here. Daniela was a daughter. Daniela was too young to be a mother. Daniela will never be married. I can't imagine the impact that her community has felt over this loss. And I think every single person should be outraged about the way that her father was treated. It's a travesty, seclusion works. Thank you. That's a great word. It's a travesty. It's devastating, and it's infuriating to think that any one of us would be treated this way, if any family member, but much less our children, right? Because we protect our children. We love our children. They're everything to us, right? Nobody's going to love you like your parents do. Hopefully, sometimes we don't see that. But in these cases like this, he's out there. He's standing in the rain. He's holding the sign. He's begging in heat. He's begging. And you could see what a tender, sweet person he is. He's not raising his voice. He's not swearing. He's not being ignorant and rude and yelling and saying F the law and, all of this. He's not bitter. He just wants justice for Danny. That's all. That's all. He wants the person responsible, who was Joshua Brown, who pled guilty, to be held accountable. And he should be. So let's move over to Sebastian Rogers tonight. I have something to share from At Night. Now, I saw something too, but it was far too complicated for me to wrap my brain around. It was posted 6 days ago, and it was something that was laying out a high suspicion of Sebastian being trafficked and possibly a connection to Mexico. But I would rather go more in depth with that, or at least have a deeper understanding before I present it all to you. So, or present it to you all. But tonight, right before I came on, I got a notification from At Night, and they posted this on their Facebook page, and it reads as follows: Sebastian Rogers, due to the ongoing parallel criminal investigations into the disappearance of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, a data breach, and attempted hijacking of the search effort through corporate espionage, death threats, and purported assassination threats via a $100,000 hit on Dwayne Dog Chapman, known as Dog the Bounty Hunter, will not be making public comments on the case at this time. So I remember back, I think it was probably 2 months ago, that Dog the Bounty Hunter and a few others that weren't mentioned here found out that there was a hit put out on them, and the hit was $100,000. So this is something that we've been aware of, and I've been real hesitant to remind everyone of it because I wasn't sure if that was the reason we weren't seeing Dog around lately, right? And that he took down the videos from the Texas Roadhouse, allegedly from his official Dog the Bounty Hunter YouTube page, right? So I was hesitant to say that because I didn't want to speak for Dog, and I didn't want to be like, look, he had a hit put out on him, guys, don't you remember? And I didn't want to go into it until there was more of a public understanding or a statement such as this. So, but now I do feel comfortable kind of discussing it. And of course, I obviously wanted to share it with you all. So it goes on to say, this decision respects the sensitivity of the investigations and the severity of any potential developments. Dog and his team remain actively involved, independently gathering and providing actionable intelligence to law enforcement, focusing focusing solely on verified information and avoiding speculation or unconfirmed theories. And, I appreciate that. I think that they wanted us to know that Dog is still with us, right? He is still working behind the scenes, but maybe he is not going to make any public statements or, be a spokesperson of any kind at this time because of these threats. We've seen this throughout the case, guys. And, I talked about Joe Petito earlier. I'm sorry, Joe, but I have to bring you in again. I hope that you don't mind. But Joe Petito was supposed to go on Seth's very first live, I do believe it was, or maybe it was the second one. Either way, he was invited as a guest, and it was shown and being told, right, and promoted, because as I would, if Joe Petito said, Lady Freedom, I'd love to give you an interview, I would say, hell yeah, when do you want to do it? Let's do this, and I'd prepare for it, and we'd present. But I would promote the shit out of it because I would be really happy to have him, right? I'd be honored. And so that's what Seth did, just like anybody else would, and give Joe Petito the respect that he deserves. But people started to harass and threaten and call and say that they were going to come after Gabby Petito's foundation, as well as anyone who decided to help Seth from that camp. Absolutely disgusting, vile, awful creatures and trolls of YouTube united in these efforts, in my opinion. We saw it with the Cajun Navy. The United Cajun Navy made statements that they were threatened. Seth would go on Pascal and tell Pascal of the threats. He went on It's a Criming Shame and told of the threats. This is nothing new. Don't forget, I myself have been threatened, stalked, and harassed relentlessly for covering Sebastian Rogers' case. I am living proof of it, and I'm here to tell you it doesn't stop. It is relentless. But the difference between myself and others is that I'm not going to stop. You're not going to shut me up, and I'm going to continue to investigate Sebastian's case until he's found. And then once he's found, I am going to champion justice and white knight justice for Sebastian like you wouldn't believe, except for I am going to be a green knight for Sebastian, because we are Sebastian's army and we are Sebastian strong. Now, with that being said, I'm not Dog the Bounty Hunter. I don't have millions of dollars. But I'm here to tell you, I respect Dog to the fullest. And him working on this case, I appreciate him. And I appreciate anybody who works on this case, who has the ultimate goal in mind of finding Sebastian Rogers. Now, if you see Sebastian Rogers, guys, dial 911. If you have any information, contact the Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838 or the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Tips to TBI at tbi.tn.gov, or you could submit tips online to tips.fbi.gov. The FBI has offered up a $50,000 reward as part of a reward. At night, private intelligence operates independently of law enforcement, deploying its own resources and intelligence capabilities to locate Sebastian. Dog's team remains deeply involved, leveraging confidential sources to pursue new leads. Contact Dog at Most Wanted at Manhunts1. Let me say that again. I didn't see the little period there, or the little dot. Most Wanted at Manhunts.1. Or text at night at 844-922-3236 with any tips. And then you can click on the link for reward terms if you go to this post on Facebook, guys. So I know that there's all this bullshit out there about how, At Night doesn't have active reward. Sorry, I had to get close to the screen. Now I messed me up. An active reward and whatnot. The only reward is, the way that they're saying it is the only reward that is active is through the FBI, and that's the $50,000 reward. That's not true. At Night has a $500,000 reward for any information that leads to the conviction and arrest and conviction of anyone involved with these two right here. Because Dog the Bounty Hunter also put Summer Wells on the billboards. Missing Sebastian Rogers and Summer Wells. The reward at one time was $447,000. Now it's up to $500,000. Call Dog the Bounty Hunter 844-922-3236. So, no matter what the haters tell you, there's also a reward active for those two children, Summer Wells and Sebastian Rogers. And again, guys, like I said, I'm living proof of the threats. I'm living proof of the fact that had I not been talking about Sebastian Rogers, had I not messed with a photo, I wouldn't have been stalked, harassed, or threatened either. But since I did this photo, and this was the reasoning behind why I was being stalked, threatened, and harassed, and I shouldn't even use that in the past tense, but I at least have an order of protection in place. It's all about this right here. Because somebody didn't get the credit that they wanted. Because Grace's gavel sent me this photo that she took from Justin's live as a screenshot. And I took the photo and made a video enhancing it and showing everyone how I did this. I was completely transparent with the process. And then other people were awesome enough to work on it too. But Grace's gavel didn't work on shit. We did. Limelight Girl, she did this one on the right. Really great job. She worked to figure out what and who was in this photo. Grace's gavel didn't work to do that. But because she didn't get recognized on Nancy Grace, it was, we're going to get someone that lives where she lives and we're going to harass her. So it's completely disgusting and sick. And to be quite honest with you and frank, she's not the only one responsible. There are other people involved in the harassment too. And it's sick. It's sick. Because we don't matter. Who matters is Sebastian Rogers. He's the one that's still missing. He's the one that needs to be found. He's the one that needs everyone's time, energy, and resources to be focused on finding him. But if we don't work together, then we're not worth a shit. So collaborations, yes, all day. All day. We need collaborations. We need people to come together who are willing to work as a team rather than act like the asshole of the team. Like, you know, the I in team, right? Because there is no I in team. It's a joint effort to find this young man who is now 16 years old, but he went missing when he was 15 and he still hasn't been found. Make it make sense. And I'm not done researching the video, the flashlight video. I have been researching the flashlight video, and what I have coming up to show you all when I'm ready to is probably going to blow some of your socks off. Let's just put it that way. Some of the things that I've noticed, some of the things that others have noticed, I'm here to tell you, if you think that they were pissed about this, oh, baby, wait till I show you what I found. Wait until I show you what I found, baby, because I'm here to tell you, I'm not afraid. I'm not going to back down. You can take your threats and shove them where the sun doesn't shine, because I'm not worried about it. Not one bit. If you didn't want to get caught for something, then why would you do it? Because your neighbors saw you carrying something out of the house that night. Someone was carrying something out of the house that night. Someone came from the house with a flashlight. Someone went back to the house with a flashlight. You might have hidden it from America's Most Wanted, but it's out there and we all know about it. Anybody who follows this channel knows about it. And I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not going to give up. I am not going to give up, because what you tried to do just shows how guilty you are, allegedly, in my opinion. It shows that you are trying to cover something up when you give a video to America's Most Wanted and you cut off the end of it. So because of you doing that, I went back to re-examine this video, and I'm not the only one. So, that being said, I'd be worried if I were you, because you're about to be exposed, and I'm not afraid. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, because what matters to me is finding out what happened to Sebastian. What matters to me is Sebastian coming home. What matters to me is Sebastian getting justice. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I will not stop, because it's not right for you all to feel like you can strong arm people into silence, because Sebastian deserves better than that. He just does. Thank you, Social Butterfly. Good to see you. Thanks, Seclusion Works. Yeah. Yeah. I know, Sammy. And that's the thing. Like I said, it doesn't stop, and she has that channel Chroma Chronicles, right? So she started another channel just to bash me, because the Minus a Penny one wasn't working out too hot for her, and she only had 75 people in that one. And so now she has Chroma Chronicles with some fake picture of a girl that looks really oddly and single white female-ish, scary, like me. And the girl changed her avatar on her phone to look exactly like me. And I put it all in the anti-bullying video. You guys can go over there and watch it. When I first started telling you all about this, it's like you're dealing with completely batshit crazy humans, right? And you're like trying to figure out, why they've never went and got help, or how they have friends that are like allowing for this, and then how they have anybody that supports it, especially when they lie to their subscribers. And I witnessed Gracie from Grace's Gavel in her own chat, which was Chroma Chronicles, talking to herself as Grace's Gavel. And you tell me that bitch ain't batshit fucking crazy. I'll bet my last dollar on the fact that she is probably beyond batshit crazy and beyond help. Maybe that's why she hasn't gotten any. But when I saw that shit, I was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I'm going to tell you right now, Gracie, you might want to fix it, because when I searched Chroma Chronicles, Grace's Gavel pulled up. So you might want to fix that. Got to be smarter than the crazies, I'm telling you guys. Thank you, Social Butterfly. Sebastian Rogers, missing teen from Hendersonville, Tennessee, 15 years old at the time he went missing, and now he's 16. He was 5'5", 120 pounds. If you see Sebastian, call 911 ASAP. Yes, and please don't film, guys. I mean, take a picture. I guess it's like both, right? Film it and, take a picture, call, take a picture, Absolutely. Because, like, wasn't it one of the, it was one of the tips, and I can't remember which tip it was now. It had to have been, the one, not from Missouri, because that one was given in right away. It was the one that was in Virginia that they just had, the most recent one in Virginia. And oh my God, people were putting it into Facebook groups before they were giving it to law enforcement or calling it in. And I'm like, why would you do that? Sammy says, I'd be curious if the America's Most Wanted video has been altered in the background. I didn't know about these channels. Shaking my head. But you got a lot of props from several shows. Josh did. Oh, he did. Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, that's sweet. How sweet of him. I love Josh. He's great. And that makes me feel good, because I mean, I try to stick up for what's right, so I'd hope people would stick up for me. Seclusion Work says, I'm insane because I'm a mad scientist. I love mad scientists. I'm kind of one myself sometimes when I want to lock myself in and do videos, but I'm more like a creative one. But yeah, no, you know, like I said, it's just another level, you know. It really is. And I can't believe it. And um it's just, and then if you go to Reddit, there's a lot there. I want to kind of do an expose on some of that too, with Terry Linskin. So that'll be coming soon too, because I think people need to know, because that's the group that they're all of her people. Same thing with Krama Reels. That's Minnie, the crazy one that if you go to my video on the anti-bullying, she's the one that left the psychotic messages, like cackling and screaming and I mean, all over the place, blaming me that her dog died. Like, guys, it's absolutely crazy. Seclusion Works is one step away from ruling the world. That's funny. But yeah, so I mean, like, if they're willing to put a hit out on Dog the Bounty Hunter for $100,000, I mean, these people are completely unhinged. The people that talk to themselves in chats to make themselves relevant. Yikes, right? I mean, and honestly, I'm not as high profile as Dog, and like I said, I don't have as much money and things like that. And so I can't imagine some of the things that he's seen or people have said to him, or because when you put yourself in the public, people are going to be you're kind of opening yourself up to be critiqued and things like that. And that happens, that's okay, because that's freedom of speech. People can talk all they want, but when they cross the line, it's different, right? And so it's something that I'm not surprised to hear, because as I said, back in March, Sebastian went missing at the end of February, right? It was a leap year. So he goes missing on February 25th. On the 26th, he's reported missing. Could have went missing during the early hours of the 26th, even from midnight to 6, because his mom went to go wake him up, she says, and he wasn't there. And then his father starts kind of coming out onto Pascal's show to chat and give us updates. And very early on, and without checking my notes, I can't remember the exact date, but very early on in March of 2024, Sebastian's father was talking about how he had to make sure that his searchers were being safe, and not in the terms of them, not falling down, because it is rough and rugged terrain in the area, not because they could hurt themselves or get tick bites, not because of a variety of poisonous plants that may be in the woods. No, they were being threatened for searching for Sebastian. We also heard about people taking down his flyers. We also seen his yard signs being taken down. We also see people who are pulling out who could help, like the United Cajun Navy. They were there late March into early April, and they were being threatened as well. The Uvalde Foundation said that they couldn't get a straight answer out of the Proud Feet, so they were done with the case, right? So every single time that we have people who are involved and are trying to help, they're threatened. Joe Petito can't even come on panel with Seth without being threatened. I can't talk about Sebastian with not even 3,000 of you wonderful subscribers who I love without being threatened for talking about Sebastian, for working on his case. I'm not the only creator that has been threatened, harassed, stalked. Some people have had people call the law to their house and CPS to their house. Thank God I'm an empty nester. I don't have to worry about that. But could you imagine? You know, so I don't do the back and forth very often unless I feel like I should make people aware, you know. And when I saw this, what was it, yesterday? I was like, oh my gosh, what on God's green earth am I witnessing right now? And I honestly wish I had somebody, like a witness, to witness it with me at that moment, because I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And no one else was talking in the chat. It was absolutely, like, it was terrifying. It was like an American Horror Story. That could have been like maybe part of an American Horror Story story. So very, very, very odd behavior from a very, very sick individual. Very, very sick individual. Grace's gavel. So, AKA Crommer Rills, AKA Tiffany Franks. So, makes a digital cottage cheese and settles in. Oh, Sammy says CJ's car. CJ's car. CJ's car. I'm going to need a little bit more information. Sorry, Sammy. Oh, my brain's probably fried though at this point. I didn't even realize we were on for three hours now. But yeah, guys, you know, just par for the course in Sebastian Rogers' case. You know, we've seen it from the beginning. If you followed it from the beginning, you know, you've seen it go down, right? And I'm not trying to say that there hasn't been threats made on either side. I'm sure there has, but it shouldn't be that way. You know, we shouldn't have a circus and a missing child's case. We should never have that. We should never have people begging and thirsty for recognition at all in this case. At all. It's not about us. It's about Sebastian. Not your thirsty little ego. You know, you have people that want to make quick money off of Sebastian. You know, and they'll say it's about Sebastian, and yet they're in there just talking crap about each other and other creators, and then, you know, they're getting praised by followers, and, you know, super chatted and all this craziness, and people are joining their memberships, and all the while Sebastian, you know, is being disrespected, and he's falling through the cracks, you know. I'm going to work on it. See, you know, Town Chat, the bad thing is I was going to do a members only about the photos, but then I was like, well, everyone won't be able to see it. And so that's what I hate about doing the members onlys. But I will let you guys know before I do it. I'll let you guys know before I do it. And if anything, you know, I might just do members only at first and take it off. I don't know, like maybe have them have members get early access, kind of a thing. So, because I do want to do something special for the members too. Sammy S says, allegedly other people have been threatened with exposure of affairs, etc. Well, and you know, it's just anything. It's anything that they can come up with to like hurt and humiliate each other. And I just don't even want a part of it, you know? But when people, you know, push and push and push and push and put out that misinformation, it's hard for me to sit back and be like, oh, this is all right. You know what I mean? But do I want to go back and forth? No, because that's not what my channel is about. And I don't want trash here, you know? And I don't want to speak about trash unless it's a victim's, you know, perpetrator, like when it comes to someone like Joshua Brown. I'll talk about him, or any of the perpetrators that we see and hear about. But I don't want to bring YouTube creators who are complete trash, who are just lazy, and who put out things that aren't, it's not even creative, it's just hate out there. I would much rather surround myself with good people and watch people who care about facts, who care about victims, who care about putting out correct information. Just like Justin, he was talking about in his show that there was some misinformation in the Jack and Lily case, Jack and Lily Sullivan, and he's like, I'm just not going to put it out there, and he's like letting us know that it's misinformation. And he showed us that there was some AI and misinformation in Jack and Lily's case. And when people don't show what they're talking about, then it makes it really difficult to believe, in my opinion. And I wish people would be a little bit more selective and be better critical thinkers when it comes to the information that we take in. Because it's like, believe what you see and hear and perceive, because you're perceiving it, but also it's not a terrible idea to make sure that you consider the source too. Oh, I see. Sammy says you could do our members only open chat. A lot of people do that. Oh, okay. I'll have to look into that, Sammy. Yeah, I'm so new to everything, but I need to get on the ball with doing something members only, because I was thinking it would be fun, because we don't have like a extremely large group or anything, that we could do, some mock crime scene photos, and maybe, some psychological discussion about them, because I think that's really cool. Kind of like, what do you perceive versus what do I perceive? Maybe show a clip and see how much of it we all catch, and what all of our different perceptions of it is. And maybe we're all going to be on the same page, and maybe some other people may see something that we don't. Again, I think some people pay better attention to detail than others. So yeah, I agree. Seclusion Work says, sadly, Sebastian was pushed aside and made as the second victimization. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then people thinking, oh, well, I'll talk bad about this creator or that creator because people don't like them. And, that's all well and fine. We're all going to like certain people. We're not. Sometimes you're going to like people that, you'll like two people that don't like each other. I've seen that here on YouTube. I've been like that too, where I'm like, I understand other people don't like you, but I do. I think you're a good person, or I like the way you handle things, or, I like your coverage. I appreciate, what you're doing, and I try to give credit where credit is due. So I do try to consider those things as well. Oh, okay. Because Seclusion Work says that I'm partially blind and I can't see details. Yeah, and that's but some of your other senses might be a little bit more keen than others. So maybe you have better listening skills, and that's another thing that is really, really hard to come by these days. Let me tell you. But I'm guilty of it too. I'll be watching something, and then I'll, start giving my opinion on it before they're done talking. And I'm like, oh, I better shut up so I can actually listen to this, type of a thing. But yeah, see, Seclusion Work says my hearing is amazing. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of develop a more keen sense if one isn't as keen. But I think in Sebastian Rogers' case, I think we have to remember that, Dog is a human being just like us. He has family, he has friends, he has a life outside of his public persona. He's not a character in a book. He's not, a character in a film. He's a person. And I think that he's doing everything that he can right now for Sebastian. And I really appreciate him coming out and saying this because, as I said, I had a feeling that it had something to do with this, but I didn't want to speak for him. And I just, again, I appreciate Dog. When I put out Summer's video talking about how she doesn't have a Seth, she doesn't have someone fighting for her, Dog put Summer on the billboard. And I'm not saying that that was because of what I said, but it was a solution to her not having anybody advocating for her because he stepped up. And I'm going to always give him props for that. And I'm always going to support Dog the Bounty Hunter at this channel. He's an honorary dragon and we don't mess with Dog, and he's here to help. He's given of his time. He's given of his efforts. He's given of his resources, all in the name of helping Sebastian, all in the name of helping Seth, all in the name of justice. And I think that, again, we need to give credit where credit is due. And we also have to give him some grace and understand that he has made this decision and we need to respect it. And I do tremendously. And I appreciate all of his efforts and what he's been doing behind the scenes. So, but, oh, I'm sorry, Seclusion Works. I bet you my other air conditioner clicked on. It is so humid here. Good night, Miss Sarah C. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you. She says, I am on your side, Lady Freedom, all the way. You stand up to those bitches. Miss Sarah C, you make me laugh. That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to do my best, guys. I don't want to. I seriously, I hate being hateful. I do, but gosh, this story of Daniela, and then we have Sebastian, we have Summer, Travis Decker's still on the loose. It's just we talk about really tough issues here. But I'm so glad that you guys can make me laugh. It's funny. I appreciate you guys. So I will be on tomorrow because it's going to be less hectic. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to do. So I want to show you guys the Texas Roadhouse footage that Mr. and Mrs. E put out. So I'm working on getting that downloaded and edited just to kind of show you. I'm not going to show you their whole live or anything. We're not going to critique their live or anything, just the footage that they collected from the Texas Roadhouse. And then I also wanted to go over the results of tomorrow's court hearing. Well, it'd be a hearing. It's not, they're not taking it to trial. So yes, I said it right, the hearing. So, let's pray. Let's pray for Daniela and her father, Daniel, Mendiola. Let's pray for their family, for peace, for clarity, for them to be strong and steadfast, and for them to be able to get up there and for their voices to be heard by the judge, and for the judge to see that we can't just only do for one and not do for the other, right? It's not what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's never good for anyone. We need to hold people responsible and accountable for their actions, and everyone needs to be held equally liable for said action. And if we don't do that, that is a great injustice. It's a great injustice, and in Sebastian Rogers' case, we need people to start telling the truth. We need people to stop hiding behind these troll accounts. We need people who are actually going to work hard for Sebastian instead of doing the lazy route and expecting credit for things that they did not do. And that's where I stand. I love you all so very much, and I really appreciate you all being here for me tonight. A friend of mine said to me, I cover cases of women of color, but the viewership isn't there like some of the other cases that I've covered. And I said, yes. I said, that is part of the problem. So I'm urging you guys to prove us wrong. I'm urging you to prove us wrong. And I'm urging you to show us that the public does want to hear stories of anyone who has been disenfranchised, anyone who has been hurt, anyone who has lost their life, anyone who has been unfairly treated. Because when there's injustice in one place and people allow for it, it's not going to be long before that injustice comes and bites your ass in some way. So just always think of it like that, that none of us are above these circumstances or situations, and that we should really, no matter what, always want justice, no matter who it is, because we're all people. And people matter. And all lives matter. So I love you all. You all are great. Everyone who stayed with me through this live, I appreciate you. Anyone who's going to watch it, please like, share, and get Daniela's story out there, because there is no closure in a case like this. There's only the thirst in us seeking out justice. Thank you all, and stay safe out there and stand up for what's right always. Thank you.